Chapter 293. Xiao Gui actually has a gentle side, it's just that you haven't seen it. Bissot blushed as he explained. Carr murmured, it's better that we never see it. I don't even know who it is. A few days ago, he was chased and beaten. Sigh, it's really sad for a man to be like this. Do you want to die? Zhu Gui and Bissot said almost at the same time. Looking at them, Ji Dong couldn't help but smile bitterly. Which one of you can tell me what's going on? Carr excitedly flashed behind Ji Dong and said, I'll do it. Boss, you don't know how lucky Bissot is. We went to a tourist resort near Zhongyuan City to relax. I went hunting, but he insisted on going to a small lake to swim naked. In the end, he met Xiao Gui, who was swimming at the same time. The most tragic thing is that he was caught. Poor Bissot was beaten up by Xiao Gui. Xiao Gui said something to him, and they got together. Here, he imitated Xiao Gui's voice and said, You bastard, you have to be responsible for me, or I'll castrate you right now. Although Carr was tall, he imitated Zhu Gui very well. Before his voice died away, Zhu Gui and Bissot had already rushed over with red faces. Ji Dong laughed and quickly stopped them. Actually, this is also a kind of fate. Bissot glared at Carr and said, Carr, you're dead. Just you wait. Carr laughed and said, I'm so scared. Xiao Gui, discipline your Bissot. With you here, he dares to be so arrogant. Looking at the three of them, Ji Dong felt an indescribable sense of relief in his heart. It was as if he had returned to the Fire Academy. During his years in the Fire Academy, although he practiced hard every day, he really liked the atmosphere there. At that time, he could see the flaming bar every day, and he could clearly feel his mana improving every day. He could feel all the mysteries of this world. Now that he saw his companions again, that feeling seemed to have returned. Brother Ji Dong, guess who I am? At this time, a girl who looked about 16 or 17 suddenly jumped out and came in front of Ji Dong. Ji Dong laughed and said, Is there a need to guess? Besides my sister Ling Yu, who else could be so cute? That's right, this girl who suddenly jumped out was the genius girl of the Gui water system, Ling Yu, who had joined the Yinyang Hall with Ji Dong. The little girl had now grown into a big girl. Although she was not as beautiful as Lan Bauer, her innocent and lively appearance had not changed much. Her big eyes revealed a mischievous and extremely cute look. She pouted and said with dissatisfaction, So boring. Brother Ji Dong, how did you recognize me so quickly? At this time, the disciples of the Yinyang Hall had all walked out. Fury Hyoheim waved her hand, and Ji Dong gestured to Carr and the others, as well as Ling Yu, and walked over. Most of these disciples of the Yinyang Hall knew Ji Dong, and they naturally remembered the intense shock that the Sun-Moon Yinyang world had given them 5 years ago. In the world of demon masters, power was the source of everything. Ji Dong had used his own tyrannical power to conquer their hearts long ago. A pair of beautiful eyes were hidden in the crowd, staring at him in a daze. Unknowingly, a layer of mist had already appeared in her eyes. Bauer. The girl's shoulder was hugged, and Yi Xian had come to her side without her knowing. She said, Still can't forget him? You're so silly, just like me back then. If you like him so much, why don't you take the initiative to fight for him? Lan Bauer shook her head forcefully, and a trace of sadness appeared in her eyes. She said, It's useless. There's no space for me in his heart. Senior sister Yi Xian, I'll go back first. With that, she turned around and returned to the tent. Everyone, I asked senior brother to invite all of you here because I have something to give to all of you. I call it the Demon Skill Wine. Everyone was familiar with each other, so there was no need to be polite. Ji Dong went straight to the point and explained the demon skill wine he had made, as well as the method to use it. Seeing the incredulous looks in everyone's eyes, Ji Dong took out a bottle of demon skill wine with the most basic skill, Scorching Sun Devour. With a wave of his right hand, the bottle flew out, and a ray of light flashed in his hand. With a bang, the bottle shattered, and a blinding golden light instantly appeared. A figure that looked exactly like Ji Dong exploded in this golden light, and the intense extreme yang fire magic rippled in the air. Every disciple of Yin Yang Hall could be said to be a genius in the world of demon masters. Of course, they understood what this bottle of demon skill wine could do. Everyone's eyes began to burn with passion. Without a doubt, in their eyes, Ji Dong's status had risen to another level. Fury stood at the side and nodded to himself. He was more and more convinced that when Ji Dong took over his position as the first seat of Yin Yang Hall, he would definitely do better than him. As for the prophecies of Tianji, he had never believed them. He only believed in his own strength. Every disciple of Yin Yang Hall received a bottle of demon skill wine. After Ji Dong's spiritual energy broke through, he actually had the ability to make sure-kill level demon skill wine. However, during this time, he had first gone to Tianji City and then made use of the time to cultivate in seclusion in Tianji City to integrate what he had learned. He really did not have the time and energy to make more. Before he came, he had used up all the remaining materials he had on him, and made more than 100 bottles of demon skill wine before rushing over. After all, this thing was not fully mature, and it could only be used as a support in battle. Its main use was to catch the enemy off guard, and it could not be used to defeat the enemy. After giving out the demon skill wine, Ji Dong returned to Fury's side and stuffed 3 bottles of demon skill wine into his hands. He said in a low voice, "Senior brother, give this to Bao Er." With his spiritual energy that could almost control everything, how could he not see Lan Bao Er's departure? Fury did not accept the demon skill wine. He said in a bad mood, "If you want to go, go by yourself. I don't want to see Bao Er cry. Sigh, when it comes to matters of the heart, I can't give you any advice. However, Bao Er is really a good girl. But I can also understand you. Sister-in-law is so perfect, there is nothing wrong with you completely placing your love on her. It's just that this silly girl Bao Er has suffered." Ji Dong put away the demonic skill wine and sighed. "I'll give it to him before we enter the Saint Evil battlefield. Senior brother, there's nothing we can do about this. I hope that time will wash away everything. I believe that Bao Er will come around one day." Fury looked at him meaningfully and said, "I hope so. I have already arranged a place for you to stay. However, you have to come with me to my place first. I have brought your Demon June Yin Yang armor for you. You can try it out first and quickly familiarize yourself with the characteristics of the armor. Speaking of which, you have really helped me a lot this time. Although Martial Uncle has only returned to the academy for a short year, he has not only helped you forge the Demon June Yin Yang armor, he has also helped the brothers and sisters of the Yin Yang school to repair and upgrade their respective demon skill armors. This has caused our overall strength to rise to another level. In this year, Martial Uncle has practically immersed himself in forging day and night. If it wasn't for the 1,000-year source of life that you gave him, I'm afraid that he would have already collapsed. But now, not only is he fine, he even looks much younger than before. It is indeed worthy of being called the 4th best wine. By the way, speaking of this, I have yet to settle the score with you. You brat, you actually went to the Bartenders Guild to get a bottle of vast sea fine wine." Ji Dong chuckled and said, "I won that in a fair bet. Senior, do you want to settle the score with me?" Fury said unhappily, "The vast sea fine wine is President Du Sikong's lifeblood. However, even I am embarrassed to see the praise he gave you in his letter. No matter what, you have saved the entire guild. Even if it is a reward, it is nothing." Ji Dong said, "Senior, I won this bet. Moreover, I also gave President Du a bottle of Source of Life in return. Alright, let's not talk about this. Where is my Demon June Yin Yang armor? Quickly take it out and let me see how Martial Uncle has improved it." Fury nodded and waved his right hand. A golden red light surged in the storage magic tool. With a light hum, Fury's tent was instantly filled with strong fire elements. Yun Tianji and Ah Jin, who were sitting at the side and resting with their eyes closed, felt the sudden change in the magic elements around them. They couldn't help but open their eyes at the same time. It was a full body armor that had automatically combined into a human shape. It was dark red in color, and deep dark patterns were faintly discernible in the dark red halo. Almost all the joints had spikes protruding out, giving off a chilling and ferocious feeling. The entire set of Demon Jun Yin-Yang armor still maintained its original style, but there was a considerable change in its overall structure. First, it had changed from light armor to full body armor. The Demon Jun Yin-Yang armor, that originally only protected the important parts, had now been perfected. All the connecting parts were connected by a fish scale-like armor in a semi-overlapping manner. There was no doubt that this could minimize the flexibility of the Demon Master. Secondly, the original mask had now become a helmet. The style of the mask did not change, but the helmet completely protected the head and was connected to the neck armor. It could be said that not a single piece of skin was exposed. What surprised Ji Dong the most was that there was actually a pair of huge wings on the back of this set of armor. The wings seemed to be filled with a metallic texture and were extremely wide. The wings added together had a wingspan of 4 meters. Even if it was folded on the back, it could still completely cover the back of the entire set of armor. The Demon Jun Yin-Yang armor had become even more gorgeous than before. The dark patterns overlapped into an even thicker protective layer. It was a perfect whole, and all of it showed its enchanting luster. At first glance, it had already firmly attracted Ji Dong's gaze, making him unable to extricate himself. Ji Dong had already realized that this was not something that Zhu Yan could complete in just 1 year. Whether it was the material or the overall fine casting, without a large amount of time and precious materials, it was impossible to make this Demon Jun Yin-Yang armor so perfect. No wonder Zhu Yan looked so tired and old when he saw him on the azure grassland. There was no doubt that in the 4 years that he had been missing, he had been forging the other parts of the armor. In the last year, he should have been combining and perfecting it. Big brother, oh big brother, how can I repay this friendship of yours? In the past, when Zhu Yan first came into contact with him and wanted to become sworn brothers with him, his heart was filled with vigilance. But as time passed, he had truly understood what kind of person Zhu Yan was. He was a madman, a genius, and a madman who had devoted all his efforts to forging magic weapons. More importantly, he was his own big brother. Looking at the Demon Jun Yin-Yang armor in front of him, Ji Dong's vision couldn't help but blur. He clenched his fists and secretly swore, "Big brother, don't worry. I will not let down your painstaking efforts. I will fully display the power of this Demon Jun Yin-Yang armor on the battlefield and defeat the enemy." Fury said, "Martial Uncle said that this is completely different from the previous Demon Jun Yin-Yang armor. It is the work that he is most proud of in his life. When you wear it, you only need to inject a trace of magic into the Demon Jun Yin-Yang armor, and it will form a layer of magic shield. Magic masters below the 5 crown rank will not be able to break through its defense. Moreover, in this new armor, there are a large number of fire crystal crowns as materials. When you wear it and use skills, it will save your own magic power. Moreover, it doesn't need to consume too much of your magic power to support it. The tip of each spike is made of a special metal that has the effect of breaking magic. When the same amount of magic is injected, even if the opponent is wearing a demigod rank armor and is hit by the spike, it will still have a penetrating effect. AI, Martial Uncle is really biased." Ji Dong laughed and said, "Senior brother, you don't have to complain. Do you think I don't know that your Hell Thunder Divine Axe can directly transform into armor?" Fury was stunned. He looked at Ji Dong in surprise and said, "How did you know? I didn't use it in the battle between the 2 guilds last time." Ji Dong said mysteriously, "This is a secret. It won't be long before you find out." The Hell Thunder Divine Axe wasn't the only divine weapon he had seen. His judgment was also based on the other divine weapon. Fury snorted and said, "Brat, give this armor a name first." Ji Dong frowned and his eyes revealed a light of contemplation. Yun Tianji suddenly said, "Why don't we call it the Sacred Flame Sage King armor? The owner is the Radiant Sage King. Wearing the Sacred Flame Sage King armor is also worthy of its name." Before Ji Dong could say anything, Fury already laughed and said, "All right, I think this name is good. Let's call it the Sacred Flame Sage King armor. That's more like it." Although Ji Dong still didn't think of himself as a Sage King, since his senior brother had spoken, he couldn't change it. This brand new armor had its name. In the near future, it would be this Sacred Flame Sage King armor that would follow Ji Dong everywhere and become a Sage King. Chapter 294. Reporting. Just as Ji Dong and Fury were deciding on a name for the new armor, a messenger's voice came from outside. "What's the matter?" Fury shouted outside the tent. "Reporting to Lord Fury, there are 3 people outside the camp. They're asking to see you and Lord Ji Dong." "Asking to see us?" Fury looked at Hyoheim suspiciously. Ji Dong was also stunned. 3 people. He immediately asked the messenger, "What do they look like?" Could it be that the leader of the demonic alliance, Meow Meow, was here? Did she bring someone else? The messenger's reply broke Ji Dong's thoughts. The 3 of them don't seem to be from the same group. They're all very young. 2 of them look similar. They're in their early 20s. They seem to be brother and sister. The other one is dressed in ragged clothes. He looks like a beggar. Fury and Ji Dong looked at each other. "Do you know someone like that?" Ji Dong shook his head. "It's not strange to be able to call out Big Brother's name. But to be able to call out my name, it should be someone I know. Should we go take a look or bring them here?" Fury said, "It's just 3 people. Messenger, bring those 3 people here." Yes, the messenger left to carry out Fury's order. Fury and Ji Dong looked at each other. They were both thinking about who it could be. Suddenly Ji Dong's mind flashed. Brother and sister. Could it be that pair of brother and sister? I've already clearly rejected them from coming here. As he thought about it, Ji Dong walked to the front of the Holy King Divine Flame armor. He raised his right hand and pressed on the chest of the armor. A white light flashed in his eyes. His strong spiritual power had already entered the armor. Accompanied by a clanging sound, the armor instantly disintegrated into pieces. Under the guidance of his spiritual power, they all landed on Ji Dong's body. Strangely, when each piece of armor came into contact with his body, they did not fuse together. Instead, they directly merged into his body and disappeared. Ji Dong's divine art fusion had reached a high level through his understanding of the assimilation circle and the law of the will. However, after fusing with the Vulcan's dual swords, there was a limit to what he could fuse. After fusing with the Celestial Fire Holy Monarch armor, it was difficult for him to fuse any other large equipment into his body. Not long after, the 3 people were brought over. When Fury and Ji Dong walked out of the tent and saw the 3 people, they couldn't help but be shocked. "Du Ming, XN, why are you 2 here?" Fury looked at the pair of siblings in shock. They were the son and daughter of the god of wine, Du Sikong. He had a good relationship with Du Sikong, so how could he not recognize them? Du Ming chuckled and exchanged glances with his sister. He respectfully said to Fury, "Greetings, Uncle Fury, Master. We are also here to participate in the battle of the holy and evil." "Master?" Fury looked at Hyoheim in confusion. Ji Dong said, "Du Ming's philosophy in bartending is the same as mine, so I agreed to take him as my disciple and teach him the knowledge of bartending. Du Ming, I clearly refused to let you participate in the battle of the holy and evil. Furthermore, why did you bring Xiner here?" Du Xiner interrupted, "Master, I was the one who insisted on coming with Big Brother. In the past half a year, I've improved a lot. My magic power is about to break through level 50. I've long heard that the greater the pressure, the better it is for a mage's cultivation. The battle of the holy and evil is such a fun thing, how could I not come? You must let us participate. Fun? Ji Dong unhappily snorted and said, stand aside first, we'll talk about this later. Friend, we don't seem to know each other. What business do you have with me and senior brother? Ji Dong waved his hand and had Du Ming and his sister stand aside. His gaze fell on the other person. This person's clothes could be described as ragged. Not only were his clothes tattered, his entire body was dirty. His hair was unkempt and his face was dirty. Even his appearance couldn't be seen clearly. He looked worse than a beggar. However, Ji Dong could clearly feel a sense of danger from this person. He was definitely not an ordinary person. Fury also felt that it was strange. He didn't remember knowing such an ordinary person. The beggar smiled bitterly and said, Brother Fury, Ji Dong, don't you recognize me? When he opened his mouth, both Ji Dong and Fury were stunned. Ji Dong said in shock, You're Yao Qianshu. You're a dignified heavenly stem first wood saint. How did you become like this? His appearance couldn't be seen, but his voice couldn't be fake. Wasn't this Yao Qianshu? Yao Qianshu took a few steps forward and arrived in front of Ji Dong. He suddenly burst into tears and said, Ji Dong, you have to save me. I really can't take it anymore. These 5 years I've been tortured to death. Ji Dong hurriedly supported him and said, What's wrong with you? You used to be a famous money tree. Medicine cures diseases that die, but money helps those who are fated. You should have a lot of savings, right? Why do you look like a beggar? Yao Qianshu stopped crying and said, I didn't want to be like this. I was forced into this. I was forced into this by that fat pig. I sold everything that could be sold and exchanged it for food for that pig to eat. I couldn't even break the contract with it. If I don't let it eat its fill, it won't let me eat. These few years I've been tortured to death by it. Ji Dong said, You're talking about that chrysanthemum holy pig? It actually ate you to the point of collapse? Yao Qianshu said in pain, Of course it did. It had to eat a ton of food in one meal. Although it wasn't picky, 3 meals a day, every day. Even if I was a mountain of gold, it would still be eaten by it. Even my clothes and storage magic tools were exchanged for food. These 5 years, you don't know how miserable I was. If it wasn't for my medical skills that allowed me to earn some money, I'm afraid it would have eaten me too. What about that chrysanthemum pig? Fury asked from the side. Yao Qianshu smiled bitterly and said, I don't know where it is either. In any case, as long as it's time to eat, it will definitely appear. Boss Fury, this time, you must take me in. I'll do anything you want me to do. As long as I let that pig eat its fill and stop bothering me, I'll be one of you in the future. Fury laughed and said, Don't say it so ambiguously, okay? I'm not interested in you. How about this? I'll get someone to take you to tidy up and change your clothes. What do you call this? Don't worry, there's no shortage of food in this military camp. At least there won't be a problem for the time being. At this moment, Yun Tianji walked out of the big tent. Seeing Yao Qianshu, he wasn't surprised at all. Instead, he smiled and said, First would holy disciple, long time no see. Congratulations. Yao Qianshu was stunned for a moment and said, Congratulations? What's there to congratulate? Don't laugh at me. Yun Tianji shook his head and said, I'm not laughing at you. I'm really congratulating you. Although you've been tortured for 5 years, in these 5 years, you've truly gained its friendship. It will bring you far more than what you've given. Treat it well. Yao Qianshu blinked his eyes and said, Brother Yun, what do you mean by that? Yun Tianji smiled and said, Heavenly secrets cannot be revealed. When the time comes, you'll naturally understand. Yao Qianshu scratched his messy hair and said helplessly, All right, I'll go wash up and change my clothes first. Right now, it's really too embarrassing. By the way, how's Tianji? Yun Tianji sighed and said, I'm Tianji. Hearing this, Yao Qianshu's body suddenly trembled. Of course, he understood the meaning of Yun Tianji's words. His gaze shifted to Hyoheim and saw Ji Dong nodding at him. Instantly, sorrow surged in his heart. His already fragile nerves from being tortured collapsed again. He cried bitterly and said, "Lord Tianji, he's gone just like that? This is really—" Du Xian, who was at the side, whispered in her brother's ear, "Brother, what's wrong with this guy? Why is he always crying like a woman?" Without waiting for Du Ming to speak, Yao Qianshu raised his head and looked at Du Xian and said, "You're the woman. Oh no, you're a woman. Who's like a woman? Try being tortured for 5 years. Brother Yun, oh no, Tianji, restrain your grief. Old Tianji dedicated his life to the continent. He will always live in our hearts." Du Ming glared at Du Xian. Du Xian stuck out her tongue and thought to herself, "This beggar's ears are quite sharp." Fury had someone lead Yao Qianshu to wash up and change his clothes. Yun Tianji raised his head to look at the sky and mumbled, "Teacher, you're right. In the face of great danger, there's still a chance of survival." At this moment, a lazy voice suddenly sounded from the side, "Where's that brat Yao Qianshu? Haha, isn't this Ji Dong and Fury? It's great to see you guys. These past few years, I've almost starved to death because of that brat Yao Qianshu." Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a small, round pig that was no more than a foot long walking over with its head swaying. The chrysanthemum pattern on its back was very obvious, and it shone with a faint golden light under the sunlight. Wasn't that the poplar flower Saint Pig? A trace of surprise appeared in Ji Dong and Fury's eyes. It must be known that this chrysanthemum holy pig didn't come with Yao Qianshu. The battle between saint and evil was about to begin, so one could imagine how tight the defenses of the 5 countries' allied forces were. Even if one flew into the sky or burrowed into the ground, it would be impossible to sneak in quietly, but this guy came just like that. Wow, what a cute little pig! When Du Xian saw the chrysanthemum pig, her eyes immediately lit up. She ran over with a few steps and hugged the chrysanthemum pig. The chrysanthemum pig took advantage of the situation and rubbed against Du Xian's embrace. It looked as cute as it could be, but Ji Dong and Fury could clearly see the wretched light in this guy's eyes. What the beggar said just now was that you ate it poor. It's so cute and soft, it's so comfortable to hold. That guy must be lying. You're so small, how could you possibly eat him poor? Holding a spotted pig, Du Xian giggled as she was cuddled by it. She seemed to be overflowing with love. The chrysanthemum pig said indignantly, "That's right, Yao Qianshu is so heartless. How could I eat him poor with such a small body? That's all because he spent his own money. Sigh, I really regret it. If only I had met you the last time I met them, I would have formed a contract with you." Ji Dong shook his head helplessly, while Yun Tianji's gaze fell on the chrysanthemum pig with a trace of deep meaning. Du Xian blinked her eyes. "Can this contract be changed? I like you so much, you're so cute." The chrysanthemum pig's face was bitter. Its nose, mouth, and small eyes seemed to be gathered together. It shook its head and said, "No, that contract isn't that easy to break. Moreover, I don't have any offensive or defensive abilities. Didn't you see that Yao Qianshu regretted using me as a magical beast?" Du Xian said, "I don't care. When I have a magical beast in the future, I won't be willing to let it fight. I will treat it as my friend, my good companion, and I can't wait to protect it." "Piggy, you're so cute. That guy must have mistreated you. Look, you're so thin." Hearing Du Xian's words, Ji Dong slapped his forehead. Together with Fury, he turned around and entered the account. Although Du Ming didn't know the identity of this chrysanthemum holy pig, looking at its completely spherical body and saying that it was thin, his infatuated sister, others didn't think much of it, but the way the chrysanthemum pig looked at Du Xian was different. It no longer rubbed its head against her slightly clear chest, and kept chatting with Du Xian as if it regretted not having met earlier. When Yao Qianshu returned and saw the obedient and lovable appearance of the chrysanthemum pig, his eyeballs almost fell to the ground. Was this still the wretched fat pig that had exploited him for an entire 5 years and forced him to eat until he was poor? The chrysanthemum holy pig naturally saw him and glared at him threateningly. Then it rubbed against Du Xian'er's embrace and said, "Xian'er, my master is back. I have to go with him. Otherwise, I'm afraid he will hit me." Du Xian'er's gaze immediately glared at Yao Qianshu fiercely, as if she had the intention of immediately making a move. Yao Qianshu almost spat out a mouthful of blood. I hit it? Do I dare? If this fat pig was as simple and cute as it looks, I wouldn't have ended up like this. You guys chat, I'll be leaving first. That night, it wasn't until dinner time that Du Xian'er truly understood Yao Qianshu's pain. The chrysanthemum holy pig's body didn't look big, but when it started to eat heartily, it definitely brought about a shocking level of terror. It ate almost 100 portions of dinner by itself, and its body didn't change at all. After it finished eating, it laid in Du Xian'er's arms and fell asleep with its belly up. Yao Qianshu's face twitched. Thinking back to the torture he had suffered for the past 5 years, he really wanted to rush up and strangle this fat pig to death. However, no matter how much he loved money, he was definitely not a person who repaid kindness with enmity. After all, the chrysanthemum holy pig had saved him before, and he had always hoped that the chrysanthemum holy pig would be able to display its strength as a level 10 divine beast. However, things didn't go as he wished. It seems to be able to eat a little. Du Xian'er rubbed the chrysanthemum holy pig's round belly. Yao Qianshu laughed bitterly. Then it really can't eat a little. Chapter 295. After 3 rounds of wine, the 5 glorious dragons took their leave because they still had to deal with a lot of things in the camp the next day. The banquet in Fury's tent was also coming to an end. Ji Dong and Fury sat together at the head of the table. He looked at Du Ming and said, "Du Ming, do you know how dangerous the battle between the holy and evil saints is? You actually brought Xian'er here. Does President Du know?" Du Ming's face turned red. He scratched his head and said, "Xian'er wanted to come. I also want to see the battle between the holy and evil saints and contribute to the continent, so we came." Fury scolded, "Nonsense, if something happens to you, how am I going to explain it to President Du? I'll send someone to send you back tomorrow morning." Du Ming protested, "Uncle Fury, we're not children anymore. We can make our own decisions. We won't go back. Just let us enter the holy and evil battlefield. Xian'er and I are already close to level 50. Aside from our lack of combat experience, we're not much weaker than your Yin-Yang school's disciples. If they can contribute to the continent, why can't we?" Fury frowned as he looked at Hyoheim and said, "Little junior brother, what do you think we should do?" Ji Dong said, "I'm a bit more at ease with Du Ming, but this lady Xian'er doesn't need you to worry about her. Leave it to me. Don't forget, I came from the holy evil island." Chrysanthemum holy pig laid comfortably in Du Xian'er's arms. Yao Qianshu said with dissatisfaction, "Fat pig, you've eaten me for 5 years, but I've never heard of you wanting to protect me. You've only known her for less than a day. You're valuing a lover over a friend." Chrysanthemum holy pig rolled his eyes and said, "You don't understand. This holy pig has a deeper meaning. You'll understand in the future. Xian'er, I'm tired. Where do you think I should sleep tonight?" Du Xian'er stood up with Chrysanthemum holy pig in her arms and said, "Of course you'll sleep with me. You're so soft, it'll be very comfortable to sleep with you." As he spoke, he waved to the crowd, as if he didn't care what Ji Dong and Fury's final decision would be. He then left happily with Chrysanthemum pig. Yao Qianshu looked at the vulgar chrysanthemum pig rubbing against Du Xian'er's arms and swallowed a few mouthfuls of saliva. However, he was also secretly rejoicing in his heart. At least with Du Xian'er attracting this guy's attention, it wouldn't come to torture him for the time being. Jidong gave a bottle of magic skill wine to Du Ming and said, after entering the holy evil battlefield, take out this bottle of wine from your storage magic tool. If you don't encounter any danger, try not to move. I will go find you. Du Ming received the demonic skill wine and said in pleasant surprise, Teacher, you agree to let me enter the holy evil battlefield? Jidong nodded and said, however, you are not allowed to move freely in the Saint Evil battlefield. Otherwise, you don't have to call me teacher in the future. Alright, you should go rest. Yes. Du Ming was overjoyed. Although he was older than Jidong by a few years, he didn't know why, but every time he was in front of this teacher, he would feel more respect for him. Du Ming also went to rest, leaving only him, Jidong, Yao Qianshu, Jin, and Yun Tianji in Fury's tent. Jidong looked at Fury and said, Senior brother, we'd rather believe in Tianji's words than not. However, we don't know what will happen in the battle of Saint and Evil. Therefore, we can only be cautious. Tell everyone to take out the demonic skill wine that I've given out after we enter the Saint and Evil battlefield. I have a way to gather all the disciples of Yin Yang school together. This way, if anything happens, we'll be able to deal with it. Fury looked at Jidong in surprise and said, You have a way to gather everyone together? What kind of method is this? Jidong smiled faintly. Fury only saw a flash of white light in Jidong's eyes. Suddenly, he felt as if his brain had been hit by a cold current. Just as he was about to block it, he suddenly felt everything in front of him become clear. His thoughts quickly spread out and he could clearly feel every corner of the room. He could even feel many things outside the tent. Especially the few people in the room, he could clearly feel their mana levels. For example, Yao Qianshu's mana had clearly reached level 65, Jin's was close to level 70. Only Yun Tianji's was a blur and he couldn't feel it clearly. This is... Fury stared at Jidong, dumbfounded. He stood up unconsciously. Jidong said, in a sense, Senior brother, you can think of this as a demonic domain. However, it is not a demonic domain that is condensed from mana. It is a mental demonic domain. My mental demonic domain is not very useful in terms of attack and defense. At most, it can only be used for a surprise attack. However, it has a much larger range than a normal demonic domain. As long as there is no strong interference, I can feel my spiritual imprint in the demonic skill wine and quickly unite everyone together. As he spoke, the coolness in Fury's mind quietly receded, and everything around him returned to normal. He had a feeling that at this moment, he was like a blind man with excellent eyesight. All the sense of clarity from before had disappeared. Junior brother, I have decided. Although I am the commander in name for this battle, you have to play the role of the actual commander. Your mental demonic domain is too useful. Not only can it be used to find people, I think it can also greatly increase the fighting strength of every demon master. However, I don't know how many people you can help to sense everything around you at the same time. Fury was also a genius of his generation. After a short moment of shock, he immediately thought of the usefulness of Jidong's spiritual detection in actual combat. Not to mention anything else, with this spiritual detection, he did not need to worry about any enemy sneak attacks from any position. It was like having a pair of extremely clear eyes hanging in the sky and controlling the entire situation. It could also help him determine the strength of the enemy. It could be said that the effect of this spiritual detection was already not inferior to the effect of Jidong's actual combat strength in a group battle. Jidong said, if there are 3 or 5 people, it can last for a long time. However, if it is the entire Yin Yang Hall, it can only last for about an hour. Every time he was distracted, the various kinds of information he needed to receive would increase exponentially. Even with his current strong spiritual power, he was not omnipotent. Of course, being able to do this was already worthy of the evaluation from the flaming bar that his spiritual power was at the sage level. However, although he had reached the sage level, the amount of his spiritual power was far from reaching the sage level. This was a process of accumulation, and after reaching the sage level, the speed of accumulation was obviously extremely fast. Fury said, "This is enough. This is already enough to change the outcome of the battle. Junior brother, I am really looking forward to the battle with the other side. However, in this battle, the main character of our Radiant Five Elements continent is no longer me, but you." The two of them looked at each other, their eyes exuding a strong belief. They were not the kind of people who would retreat in the face of difficulties, they would only face them head-on. 10 days later, at the coast of the East Sea. The sea breeze, with the unique smell of the sea, blew on the shore. The air was a little cold, the sun's light had long been blocked by thick clouds, and the myriad thunder calamity in the distance seemed to be getting more and more violent. Bluish-purple lightning constantly flashed in the thick clouds that were so thick that it was suffocating. The waves crashed on the shore from time to time, making bursts of rumbling sounds. The strong and solemn atmosphere continued to rise. The once-in-5 years moment was coming. At this time, there were at least more than thousands of people gathered at this seaside, each of them wearing eye-catching golden clothes. These were the elites of the elites that the 5 empires had gathered to guard the holy and demonic passage. They were all students of the Heavenly Deity Academy, and most of them were 4 crowns or above, with an average of 5 to 6 crowns. They were the mainstay of this place. Their combined strength, coupled with the hundreds of thousands of elite troops from various countries, was almost enough to compete with any empire. Further ahead, nearly 300 Heavenly Deity Academy elites under the age of 50 were ready to go. They were divided into 10 columns, each representing the 10 attributes of the magicians. Each of them was wearing their own magic armor and holding their own magic weapons. The once-in-5 years moment would also be the time for them to show their skills. However, no one knew how many of them would be able to come back alive from this once-in-5 years battle. Among these 300 people, there were more familiar faces. The last battle of the holy and demonic could be said to be the one where the Radiant Five Elements continent suffered the least losses. There was no doubt that the magicians who had participated in the last battle and were less than 50 years old were all here. They had rich experience and actual combat ability, and also had a strong belief in defeating the enemy. In the front row, more than 20 magicians with mounts became the spearhead of the entire team. All of them were at least 6 crowns or above and had magical beast mount. They were the most elite of the 300 Heavenly Deity Academy students, and almost all of them were experts from the Yin-Yang Hall. Leading them was the Thunder Emperor, Fury, who sat on the back of the Purple Thunder Heavenly Dragon and was the object of worship of all the students in the Heavenly Deity Academy. Ji Dong stood beside Fury. Fury seemed especially powerful today. The Thunder Emperor's entire body was covered in a bluish-purple armor. The armor looked extremely thick and sturdy, and the helmet had a visor that covered Fury's face. However, it could not hide the overwhelming might that radiated from his body. This wasn't the armor transformed from the Hell Thunder Divine Axe, but one that Zhu Yan had specially made for him. Compared to 5 years ago, the current Fury gave off a mountain-like aura. He was like a stabilizing force that gave every Heavenly Deity Academy soldier courage and strength. Compared to Fury, Ji Dong was much more inconspicuous. He didn't even wear his sacred Fire King armor, nor did he have a mount. However, he stood beside the Purple Thunder Heavenly Dragon together with Tianji. Only the magicians who had participated in the previous battle of Saint Evil knew how dangerous this seemingly calm young man was. They would never be able to forget the brilliance Ji Dong displayed when he used his ultimate technique, the solar moon world of Yin and Yang. Everyone knew that he would be the Thunder Emperor's successor, and many people even believed that his strength surpassed the Thunder Emperor's just by using that ultimate technique. Junior brother, according to your request, we only have 299 people here. When will the person you spoke of arrive? Fury asked Hyoheim. Ji-dong's eyes flashed. He looked into the distant sky and said in a low voice, "She's already here." Fury followed the direction of Ji-dong's gaze, and saw an inconspicuous dot rapidly enlarging, approaching them at an extremely fast speed. At this moment, the Empire's garrison led by the Radiant Five Dragons had already discovered its existence. Cloud Dragon Zhang Fei leapt up and sat on his Cloud Dragon, ready to face the enemy. The Battle of Saint Evil was about to begin. Whoever dared to offend them at this time would be killed without mercy. "Senior brother Zhang Fei, it's one of us," Fury shouted, dispelling the Cloud Dragon's thoughts of facing the enemy. At this moment, the black dot was rapidly enlarging, and Xiao Rui could finally see its appearance clearly. That huge eagle-shaped silver bird glided down, heading straight towards the Five Nations army. On the back of the huge bird stood a silver-clothed woman with long gray crystal-like hair. "This is the silver-winged azure sea dragon," Fury said in surprise. Ji-dong said, "Senior brother, do you know this kind of magical beast?" Fury nodded and said, "This is a mutated magical beast, born from the union of the rarest Earth-type silver dragon and a giant azure sea dragon. It's extremely rare, and among the flying-type magical beasts, it's an overlord-level existence. In the dragon clan, the silver dragon's bloodline is extremely noble. Although this silver-winged azure sea dragon is a mutated hybrid, it's still a rank 10 existence. Junior brother, you've really found a strong ally." Without even looking at the magician, just the rank 9 level mount alone was enough to influence the battle. One must know that in order to besiege that dual-type 9th level magical beast, they almost used up all the forces of the Radiant Five Elements continent before they finally succeeded in killing it. Of course, the strength of this group of people was completely different now. Whether it was Ji-dong or Fury, both of them had the strength to kill a rank 9 magical beast alone. The silver-winged azure sea dragon was getting closer and closer. The witch's voice came from the sky. "Ji-dong, I'm here for the appointment." Under the signal of the Radiant Five Dragons, the silver-winged azure sea dragon was not obstructed at all. It retracted its wings and slowly descended, landing directly in front of Ji-dong and Fury. Compared to the last time they met, the current misty azure sea dragon seemed to be more beautiful, mainly because she looked livelier. Her pretty face was no longer as pale as before, but had a tinge of redness. Even her expression had softened a lot from the past coldness. Chapter 296. More than half a year had passed, and the effect of the 1,000-year source of life had gradually shown itself. It was constantly replenishing the life force that Meow Meow had consumed. Although a single drop of source of life was far from enough to replenish her body, her entire body was in a much better state than before. Even the fusion between her body and the staff of the Earth Goddess had become more perfect. The reason why she agreed to participate in the battle with Ji-dong was not only because of the source of life, but also because of other reasons. She had long heard about the situation on the Holy Evil Island. In the history of the Demonic Alliance, there was a lot of information about the Holy Evil Island. Although the Holy Evil Island was extremely dangerous, it was also full of various opportunities. With her current strength, she believed that it would not be a big problem for her to protect herself. Perhaps, apart from the source of life, she could also obtain something else to strengthen herself. It was killing two birds with one stone. Naturally, she would not reject Ji-dong's suggestion. As for the deeper meaning, it was that she did not want to offend Ji-dong. The strength that Ji-dong displayed last time had left her with lingering fear. If she made such an enemy for herself and the Demonic Alliance, she was afraid that the future of the Demonic Alliance would be even more difficult. After all, Ji-dong was a few years younger than her. He was the possessor of ultimate dual attribute magic. Who could see his future clearly? "Senior brother, this is my friend Meow Meow. She accepted my invitation to participate in the battle with us. She is a 7 Crown Earth Magic Master." 7 Crown. Fury nodded to Meow Meow in surprise. Meow Meow's eyes could not help but narrow slightly as she looked at Fury. Intuitively, this man seemed to be even more dangerous than Ji-dong. It was not just because of the powerful violet heavenly lightning dragon beneath him, but also because she could clearly sense the presence of a god artifact on the same level as her. Moreover, whether it was his magic level or his temperament that was as steady as a mountain, it was easy for him to attract people's attention. Meow Meow could not help but feel a little grateful for Ji-dong's introduction. She knew that Ji-dong did not tell these people about his identity as the leader of the demonic alliance. He even called them friends. Just this point alone had made her worry gradually disappear. "Hello, my name is Meow Meow." Meow Meow nodded at the people before her. Fury nodded his head and smiled. "It's a pity. If I had met you a few years ago, I would have definitely invited you to join our Inyang Hall. However, it seems like it's going to be a difficult task now. Miss Meow Meow, I hope we can work together this time and show off our abilities. As part of the Radiant Five Elements mainland, we have a common enemy." Meow Meow responded and urged her silver-winged Hai Dongqing to stand at the side. She was not a person who liked to talk much. At this moment, she was even looking forward to the battle between the holy and evil. After all, even if she was the leader of the demonic alliance, it was impossible for her to enter the heavily guarded holy and evil passage alone. Fury looked at the sky. Hyoheim said, "It's almost time. Our people are all here. Let's go." As he said that, he raised his hand and patted his old buddy Thunderbolt. The purple thunder heavenly dragon raised its head to the sky and let out a deafening roar. The purple thunder heavenly dragon spread its wings and soared into the sky. A strong bluish-purple light burst out from its body. It was like a huge bluish-purple light ball bloomed in the sky. The purple thunder heavenly dragon soared into the sky and attracted everyone's attention. Its huge body soared in the sky and faced the demonic masters of the Radiant Five Elements mainland who were about to set off. Fury raised his hand and took off his helmet. His eyes were filled with power. There seemed to be a strong electric light being released from his eyes. "Brothers and sisters of the Heavenly Academy, we are about to embark on our journey again. I am very much looking forward to this moment, because our goal this time is to completely defeat our opponent. This is my 4th time participating in the battle of the Holy Evil, and it might also be my last time. All of us come from different countries and different cities, but we have one thing in common. We are all part of the Radiant Five Elements mainland. Each of us is blessed by the heavens. That's why we are able to gather in the Heavenly Academy. Every bit of effort we put in, every drop of sweat we shed, is for the sake of making ourselves stronger. I think you all know the dangers of the Holy Evil Island. Moreover, I have also received news that we might encounter unknown dangers in this battle of the Holy Evil Island. But, can this stop us from moving forward? No, if everyone retreated in the face of danger, then our continent and our country would have already been devoured by our enemies. Without the light of the radiant continent, there would not be the 5 great empires. Without our country, there would not be our home. If we don't move forward, who will protect our continent? Every one of you is able to stand here today and prepare to enter the holy evil battlefield with me. In my opinion, you are all heroes. You know that there is a strong enemy in front of you, but you will not retreat. This is the glory of the Heavenly Academy. For our motherland, for our continent, the light will defeat the evil. Every one of you is a true warrior. I am proud of you all. At this moment, the Thunder Emperor's body was blooming with an unparalleled majesty and powerful aura. Each of his words caused the blood of the Heavenly Academy's demonic masters to boil. Their hearts beat even more violently. They clenched their weapons tightly and stared at fury in the sky. Their fighting spirit had reached its peak at this moment. The holy evil passage is about to open. My comrades, let's kill the enemy together. Let's shine on the holy evil island. As if to verify Fury's words, suddenly, there was a deafening sound of thunder. Immediately after, the sea in front of everyone seemed to be boiling. Waves rose up and reached hundreds of feet into the sky. Incomparably vast energy was released in an instant, and a shocking scene appeared in front of everyone. The air was completely frozen at this moment, and everyone felt as though they couldn't breathe. In just an instant, the sky darkened, and dark clouds seemed to have formed in an instant, covering the entire sky. Streaks of lightning flashed in the thick clouds, as though the myriad lightning calamity realm was spreading out. Ji Dong subconsciously clenched his fist. It was the sign that the holy evil passage was about to open. Amidst the surging waves that rose hundreds of meters high, a 10-colored light flickered, magnificent and vast. A boundless aura spread out from the 10-colored halo. The air solidified, and the people near the sea couldn't breathe. In the face of the pressure that seemed to be the law of heaven and earth, everyone seemed so small. Once again experiencing this feeling, Ji Dong clearly felt that this 10 colors of light was a variant of the 5 elements yin-yang armor. However, it was more vast and vast than the 5 elements yin-yang world that the heavenly stem saints had used last time. This was because the foundation of this 10 colors of light was the endless power of nature. The scene in the sky changed again. In the midst of the huge magical fluctuations, the 10 colors of light gradually condensed into a huge vortex. The sea became its carrier. The surging magical power gradually condensed. The originally dark earth seemed to be illuminated by the 10 colors of light. The suffocating pressure suddenly disappeared. What replaced it was a strong aura that made people yearn for it endlessly. Extreme, yes, it was extreme. The 10 colors clearly represented the extreme magical power of the 10 elements. At the center of the huge vortex, as if it was pulling the speed of Ji Dong's heartbeat, a strong chaotic aura rushed over. The condensed chaotic bead in his chest suddenly shook violently. At this moment, both of Ji Dong's eyes had completely turned white. Boom, the 5 elements reversed. The 10 colors of light bloomed in an instant and then suddenly converged. A 20 meters wide and 30 meters high multicolored arch suddenly appeared above the sea. The sky was still dark and gloomy. The light of the myriad thunder calamity realm shone in the sky. Above the sea, there was only this almost miraculous multicolored arch. The vortex formed by the 10 colors of light quietly hovered inside. All the aura had completely changed from being released to being restrained. After 5 years, the entrance of the holy and demonic passage had once again opened. Fury put on his helmet again. The purple thunder heavenly dragon faced the direction of the holy and demonic passage. His wild voice even covered the roar of thunder in the air. Let's go! Led by the 5 glorious dragons, all the wizards and warriors stationed at the entrance of the demonic saint passage raised their weapons and roared in unison to cheer for the warriors of the Heavenly Stem's Legion. The roar of the purple thunder heavenly dragon fused with Fury's roar in the air. The huge thunder and lightning twisted and tore. 1 man and 1 dragon rushed forward and were the first to enter the multicolored arched door, the passage of the holy and demonic sect. Ji Dong patted Yun Tianji's shoulder and said, "Take care." As he said that, he followed Fury and was the second to rise up. The Phoenix Dance Dragon and Snake transformation was instantly released. What was different this time was that when the pair of white wings spread out on his back, a faint silver light bloomed from Ji Dong's body, leaving a long shadow behind him. He was the second to go into the holy and demonic passage. No one would question Ji Dong's actions. In the last battle between the holy and demonic passage, he had proved to everyone that he was qualified to do so with his strength. After the 2 of them, the magicians with their mounts, including the witch Miao Miao, all rose up and went straight forward. The 300 soldiers of the Heavenly Stem Legion were once again on their journey. In front of Yun Tianji's chest, a strong dragon roar and a black and white light appeared. The moment the huge figure appeared, the aura of all the magical beasts in the air paused for a moment, as if they had automatically opened up a passage. the sacred evolution fire dragon's terrifying body spread out in the air. It was the third to rush into the holy and demonic passage with Yun Tianji. Seeing the appearance of the sacred evolution fire dragon, the witch Miao Miao couldn't help but gasp. This was Ji Dong's mount. Had it actually evolved? In the next moment, the young experts of the Five Elements continent, under the lead of Fury, Tyrant Ji Dong, and Yun Tianji, all entered the holy and demonic passage. At the same time, all the troops stationed on the shore were mobilized, with the 5 brilliant dragons at the head, guarding the entrance of the passage. In the distance, 6 figures with faint halos quietly appeared. They didn't approach, they just stood a few miles away from the shore and stared at them. The leading figure with a golden-red luster had been watching Ji Dong and Fury the moment they entered the holy and demonic passage. The shore was also the shore, but it wasn't the East Sea, it was the shore of the West Sea, because this was the Five Elements continent. Looking at it with the naked eye, there was no difference between this shore and the shore of the East Sea of the Five Elements continent, except for the different positions. The sky was also gloomy, and the lightning of the myriad lightning calamity realm was flashing in the distance. However, it was precisely this same shore that had a completely different atmosphere. Standing at the forefront, on the head of the huge black dragon, Li Yonghao was still dressed in white, but at this moment, his usually calm eyes couldn't help but flicker with a dazzling flame. It was an extreme excitement and desire. From the day he was born, it was as if he had been waiting for this moment to come. He had waited for this day for far too long. Who could have done this when he started cultivating magic at the age of 2? At that time, he wasn't the possessor of the ultimate magic power. Everything he had was obtained after more than 30 years of painstaking cultivation. The situation was completely different from the situation of the Five Elements continent. In the Five Elements continent, although there were also 5 great empires that represented the 5 elements, they weren't the supreme rulers of the continent. The real ruler of the 5 Elements continent was the Heavenly Secret Dojo. Even the emperors of the 5 empires had to be restrained by the Heavenly Secret Dojo. The existence of the Dark Heavenly Stem Saints was also different from that of the Light Heavenly Stem Saint. In the 5 Elements continent, the generations of Light Heavenly Stem Saints were born, but in the 5 Elements continent, the Dark Heavenly Stem Saints were completely man-made, created by the Heavenly Secret Dojo. Regardless of whether it was the ultimate weapon Li Yonghao, or his sister, the Dark Emu Holy Disciple Scorpion, or the other holy disciples who joined the Dark Heavenly Stem, none of them originally possessed ultimate magic. They were selected by the Heavenly Secret Dojo from all over the continent to become one of the thousands of children with exceptional aptitude. At the age of 1, their attributes were tested and sent to the Heavenly Secret Dojo. After countless selections, at the age of 6, they were finally determined to be this generation's Dark Heavenly Stem Saints. After consuming the Dark Saint's crystal crown, they obtained the ultimate magic power that belonged to them. Such a cruel process happened once every few hundred years in the 5 Elements continent, and the time of each selection was decided by the supreme leader of the Heavenly Secret Dojo, the Dark Heavenly Secret Dojo. The final result was that the 10 great Dark Saints would be completely under the control of the Dark Heavenly Secret Dojo. Chapter 297. When the Dark Heavenly Stem Saints were chosen, the thousands of children who had been chosen along with them over the past 6 years had become the cornerstones of their advancement, having died in that hellish choice. Being able to break out of the encirclement, there was no doubt that the 10 of them were the best geniuses, or even the possessors of luck. Pure talent would not have allowed them to come this far, and in the eyes of the dark divination, luck itself was also a part of strength. As the current holy king of the Dark Heavenly Stem, everything Li Yonghao had experienced was the most tragic of all. He had even killed his own parents with his own hand. Although not even Scorpion knew about this, it was also one of the final tests given to him by the dark divination. For 1,000 years, The Dark Divination Dojo had paid the life and soul of the 10th generation of divination, and the opportunity had finally come at this moment. How could Li Yonghao not be excited? In fact, compared to the soldiers of the Radiance continent, he hated the Dark Divination Dojo even more. In addition to strength, for today, he had lost everything. He wanted to take revenge on everyone. In his heart, except for his sister, in this world, any creature was just an ant under his feet. However, before taking revenge, he must first fulfill the wish of the Dark Five Elements continent. He must tear apart the obstacle that had blocked the holy war for 1,000 years with his own hands. There was only one desire in his heart, and that was to become the holy king of the light and dark 5 elements continents. Enduring, he had endured for 30 years, and had also been crazy for 30 years. During these 30 years, he was even cultivating when he was eating and drinking. In fact, the victory or defeat between him and Fury should have been over as early as the first time they met. Fury was simply not his opponent. However, for the sake of the entire plan, for the sake of today's arrival, he had been enduring, and painstakingly enduring. Finally, it was time to break through all the encirclement and release the desire in his heart. How could Li Yonghao not be excited? On the East Sea coast of the Light 5 Elements continent, more than 100,000 soldiers of the 5 great empires were gathered, and there were also thousands of devil masters standing guard. However, if they could see the appearance of this side of the Dark 5 Elements continent at this time, they would certainly be shocked. If one were to look at the interior of the continent from Pori shore, one would be able to see neat lines and moving human heads. There was actually no end in sight. Gathered here were all the available combat troops of the entire Darkness 5 Elements continent. A total of 3 million soldiers were stationed at the shore. The murderous atmosphere and the dense crowd seemed to cause the myriad lightning calamity realm in the distant sky to pale in comparison. After 1,000 years of waiting and accumulation, what they wanted to do was to destroy all the obstacles in front of them, launch the last holy war, and completely rule that place across the sea. The other 9 members of the Dark Stem Saints sect stood quietly one step behind Li Yonghao, the ultimate weapon. Their eyes were also flickering with dazzling brilliance. As long as they succeeded in this holy war, they would become saints whose names would go down in history. Every single one of them would become a true king with 2 continents and 10 empires in their pockets. As long as they succeeded in this holy war, not only would they inherit the throne of the 5 great empires of the 5 great dark continents, but they would also control the 5 great empires of the 5 great light continents. Just like Li Yonghao, they had been waiting for this day for far too long. They had also been undergoing harsh training since they were 2 years old. In all the previous battles between the holy and evil, even during the most dangerous times, they had never used their true strength. But this time, they no longer needed to hold back. What they wanted to do was to activate everything that the 10th Tianji had accumulated and completely destroy all their enemies. Amidst the rumbling of thunder, the sea boiled and the seawater rose. Waves reached hundreds of feet into the sky, and an incomparably vast energy was released. The air froze, and everyone felt as though they were unable to breathe. In an instant, the sky darkened, and dark clouds seemed to have formed in an instant, covering the entire sky. Bolts of lightning flashed in the thick clouds. Amidst the might of the world, the eyes of the dark heavenly stem holy disciples lit up at almost the same time. The moment they had been waiting for had finally arrived. The moment the huge holy and demonic passage opened, the millions of soldiers on the Dark 5 Elements continent were unexpectedly silent. "Let's begin." A cold and inhuman voice sounded faintly, and a black figure unknowingly appeared beside Li Yonghao. It was also a young man, even younger than Li Yonghao. He wore a crown made of diamonds on his head, and wore a black robe that shone with a multicolored halo. His appearance immediately became the focus of the entire seaside. The Dark 5 Elements saints, including Li Yonghao, bowed at the same time and said, Greetings, Tianji. That's right, this young man was at this moment the true ruler of the Dark Five Elements continent, this generation's Dark Tianji. Dark Tianji nodded at Li Yonghao and said, Yonghao, you know how long we have waited for this day. 3 million soldiers have been waiting for the moment when you succeed. Fate has already been decided, we will sweep the entire world of light, and spread the depths of darkness to every corner of the world. Any variables, any opportunities that the enemy has, you have to kill them in the cradle. I believe that you definitely have the strength to do so. I know that whether it is you or the others, all of you have a deep-rooted hatred for the dojo. You don't have to deny it. If I don't even know this, then I don't deserve to be called Dark Tianji. Looking at this young Tianji, who had just taken over the position of supreme ruler for 3 years, the expressions of the Dark Five Elements saints changed slightly. Only Li Yonghao looked so calm. It doesn't matter, I don't care about this. Do you know why Dark Tianji has been able to rule the entire continent? That's because our existence is for sacrifice. Yonghao, as long as you open the Holy Evil Island and remove all obstacles, then I will fulfill your wish. At that time, as the new generation's Dark Tianji, I will be the last prophet to sacrifice for the glory of the continent, for the sake of the holy war. I will personally become a sacrifice for the war flag, using my blood and soul to watch you attack the world of light and spread the darkness to every corner. Dark Tianji's words were undoubtedly shocking. Even the Dark Five Elements saints had never thought that he would say such words. This time, even Li Yonghao's expression changed. Lord Tianji, you will always be the ruler of the continent, Li Yonghao said respectfully. Dark Tianji's eyes revealed a hint of ridicule. All right, the holy evil passage has been opened, we should also begin. Dark Legion, get ready, set up the formation. Following Dark Tianji's order, nearly 300 young devil masters quickly gathered. In the blink of an eye, they had already surrounded the 10 Dark Five Elements saints and Dark Tianji. He Tianji took a step forward and took Li Yonghao's place. With Li Yonghao in the lead, the 10 heavenly stems of darkness spread out and took up 10 positions, surrounding He Tianji in the center. With a flash of light, a 3-meter-long black scepter appeared in Dark Tianji's hand. The scepter was crystal clear and emitted an incomparably dense darkness. At the head of the scepter was a pitch-black skull, and the eyes of the skull emitted a white aura. If Ji Dong was here, he would definitely be shocked to discover that the black scepter was emitting a completely chaotic aura. Moreover, it was the purest chaotic aura. The darkness on the scepter was like fuel for this chaotic aura, constantly replenishing everything it needed. Darkness Seer slowly raised the scepter in his hand. The skull at the head of the scepter shone with white primal chaos light. Li Yonghao was the first to fall to his knees, followed by the Darkness Heavenly Stem Saint Disciples, the Darkness Legion, and the 3 million soldiers of the Five Elements continent. They all fell to their knees like wheat being harvested. Their gazes were focused on one thing, the Darkness Scepter in Darkness Seer's hand. Everyone in the Dark Army, including the 10 Heavenly Stem Saints, was in a special position. One could even vaguely sense their auras connected to each other. The auras of the 10 attributes finally converged on the bodies of the Heavenly Stem Saints and were transmitted to Dark Tianji in the center. At this moment, for some reason, Li Yonghao suddenly recalled the moment when he had become a Dark Gung Metal Saint and swallowed the Saint Crystal Crown. For 9 days, he had endured unparalleled pain and suffering. When he finally endured all the suffering and became a possessor of the ultimate Gung Metal demonic power, he saw the despair in the eyes of the other 9 Gung Metal Saint candidates, who were second only to him and had also defeated countless competitors. He was not the only choice. If he failed to absorb the Gung Metal Saint Crystal Crown, then there would be 9 more people after him. His success would only mean one thing. The other 9 would all be obliterated. They knew all the secrets, and their existence would threaten him, who had already succeeded as a saint. Li Yonghao could never forget the despair in those 9 people's eyes when they saw him successfully absorb the Saint Crystal Crown. That year, he was only 6 years old. Darkness gathers the soul. Eternal future, I call upon you as the controller of darkness between heaven and earth. The opening of the door of darkness will bring eternity to the future. Bloom the depths of darkness. Darkness divinations, sonorous chanting caused every darkness heavenly stem saint disciple to focus their gazes at the same time. In each of their hands there was now an additional item. Li Yonghao was holding a sword that symbolized royal authority. The dark golden longsword was engraved with countless fine patterns of light, and the cloud patterns on its sharp edge actually flickered with a gem-like halo. On the hilt of the sword, there was a huge white gemstone that released intense crystal colors. The sword was 7 feet long, and it had a terrifying name, Black Heaven's Demon God. Every dark saint was also holding a weapon in their hands. There was a hammer, a blade, a whip, and a spear. Without exception, all of them released the same dark golden luster as the Black Heaven's Demon God, and all of them also exuded an incomparably powerful aura. Yes, apart from the hidden demonic power, this was the greatest secret of the Dark Stem Saints. Divine artifacts. Every single one of them already possessed a divine artifact that belonged exclusively to a Dark Tianji Saint, and the price for each divine artifact was the life of a Dark Tianji Saint. They had used their lives as the price to activate the ultimate summoning of darkness in exchange for the divine artifacts of the Dark Stem Saints. These 10 divine artifacts had appeared at the same time at the cost of the lives of 10 Dark Tianji Saints. It was also the most important portion of the power that the entire 5 Elements continent had accumulated over 1,000 years. After the 10 Dark Stem Saints took out their respective divine artifacts, they slowly stood up. In that solemn atmosphere, everyone's eyes were filled with indescribable passion. A white beam of light suddenly shot out from his dark scepter, accompanied by the incantation of dark divination. It shot straight into the sky. At the same time, the light on the bodies of the 10 dark heavenly stem saints also lit up. The rich light of the 10 elements instantly fused into one with the white beam of light as the core. A gigantic multicolored light barrier came crashing down, encompassing the 300 young devil masters from the Darkness continent as well as Darkness Tianji. In the previous battle between the holy and evil saints, the Dark Stem Saints and Eclipse Phoenix Horror's power had temporarily released the 5 elements yin-yang boundary. How could the Dark Stem Saints, who had endured for so many years, not know this skill? Moreover, what they had released at this moment was not just a simple 5 elements yin-yang boundary, but a strange array that completely simulated the entrance of the holy and evil path with Dark Tianji at the center. Behind each of the Dark Stem Saints rose the light of the 5 elements formation. They had long been able to use the 5 elements formation. Their strongest ultimate weapon, Li Yonghao, had already comprehended as many as 8 of them. In this strange light, the 300 young dark wizards from the 5 Elements continent, led by their Dark Tianji Saints and Dark Tianji Saints, flew up together with a small number of magical beasts. Those powerful magical beasts, including Li Yonghao's rank 9 Black Dragon, were all trembling in this mysterious array. In the dazzling light, the 300 people actually flew into the holy and evil path together. With Dark Tianji as the core and the 10 Dark Tianji Saints as the foundation, they were all brought into the holy and evil island. This array only had one function, and that was to block random teleportation. These 300 people would ignore the rules of the holy and evil battlefield and appear in the same place at the same time. This was just the beginning of the operation of the 5 Elements continent. In the distance, the myriad lightning calamity realm was still roaring in the sky. The battle that would decide the life and death of the 2 continents had finally begun. Chapter 298. The illusory light made Ji Dong's vision turn into a colorful world. The huge energy made everything around him solidify. It seemed that it was not something that a human could contend with. This was the second time he entered the holy evil battlefield, but the feeling was different from the last time. Compared to 5 years ago, his mental strength was almost 100 times stronger. At this moment, although the massive amount of ultimate mana around his body was still unstoppable, he could already clearly grasp the minute changes of every bit of ultimate mana. Through observation, Ji-dong found that the 10 extreme magical powers existed in a way that was divided into 2 cycles. Yin gave birth to Yin and Yang gave birth to Yang. The 5 kinds of magical powers of the Yin and Yang attributes fused with each other, forming a perfect Yin and a perfect Yang. After that, the Yin and Yang completely fused into one, forming the huge vortex formed by the light. It seemed that in this huge energy, the chaos was more like a disguise. This was clearly an extremely complicated 5 elements teleportation formation. Among the 5 elements formations that Ji-dong learned, the first few that he comprehended were the teleportation formations. However, in his opinion, this teleportation formation was not very practical. First of all, it could not be used in battle, because it required a certain amount of time to use this teleportation formation, and the process of releasing it also required time. It was impossible to suddenly teleport away in the middle of a battle. Moreover, this teleportation formation also needed to be located in advance, and there was a certain distance limit, and there could not be too strong mana interference. There were many restrictions. Therefore, except for the time when he teleported out of the underground palace, he almost never used this teleportation formation. The magical power contained in the Holy Evil Passage was clearly an overlapping of the 5 elements teleportation formation. Only when the 5 elements and 10 attributes were gathered together could it not be affected by the myriad lightning calamity realm in the sky. Vaguely, he gradually understood some of the mysteries of the teleportation formation. As one of the 5 elements formation, the teleportation formation would not be useless. The colorful light disappeared like smoke, and he felt his feet firmly on the ground. He was still on the first floor of the Holy Evil Island. Looking around, he was surrounded by huge trees. With the experience from last time, the moment Ji-dong's feet touched the ground, he had already released his mental demon domain. Everything within a kilometer radius of Fanbo was within his mental perception. Who knew if he would encounter a dark heavenly stem saint like last time in the Holy Evil battlefield? However, his luck seemed to be much better this time around. Within a radius of 1,000 meters, not only was there no aura of the Dark Continent's magicians, there wasn't even a single slightly stronger magical beast. Those 3rd and 4th level magical beasts didn't affect him at all. Now that his strength had increased, his horizons had also increased. This time, Ji-dong wasn't as nervous as last time. He didn't even use his Divine Flame, Saint King Armor or Phoenix Dance's Dragon Snake transformation. He was confident that he could deal with any situation. This time, the situation was completely different from last time. Last time, it could be said that he was just here to adapt to this strange battlefield, but this time, he was the main force. Without any hesitation, a white light surged behind Ji-dong's back. His skin was also covered with a faint layer of white light. The Phoenix Dance's Dragon Snake transformation had already been released. In the next moment, he had already arrived at the top of the giant tree. He simply looked around to make sure that there were no magical beasts on the first floor of the Holy Evil Island. Only then did he spread his wings and soared into the sky. At the same time, his spirit demon domain was also released along with his body. He called out to his companions and felt where they were holding the magical wine. Soon, Ji-dong sensed something. The first thing he sensed was not the sacred evolution fire dragon, but the position of the first wood saint disciple, Yao Qianshu with the chrysanthemum pig. Yao Qianshu's position was very close to him. Through the spiritual aura contained in the demonic wine in Yao Qianshu's hand, Ji-dong immediately discovered him. Without any hesitation, the wings on his back spread out, and the yin-yang flame circle and yin-yang fish pattern bloomed behind him. He flew straight in Yao Qianshu's direction. Wood begets fire. Yao Qianshu, who had the extreme first wood demon power, could be said to be the most suitable partner for Ji Dong. With him, Ji Dong's battle strength could rise sharply. As for the chrysanthemum pig, Ji Dong didn't consider it in the battle. As long as he could meet up with Yao Qianshu, even if they suddenly encountered the Dark Stem Holy King's ultimate weapon, Ji Dong wouldn't be afraid. Things went smoother than he had imagined. In less than a quarter of an hour, Ji Dong had successfully found Yao Qianshu. Apart from the chrysanthemum pig, Du Xen was also with him. Retracting his wings, Ji Dong floated down in front of Yao Qianshu and Du Xen, but his gaze fell on the chrysanthemum holy pig. Just as he had long felt, this chrysanthemum holy pig was not simple. "Big brother Ji Dong, you look so handsome when you fly." Du Xen's eyes began to shine again. If it wasn't for the chrysanthemum pig in her arms, Ji Dong really suspected that she would have immediately rushed towards him. Seeing Ji Dong, Yao Qianshu's expression immediately relaxed. Just as Ji Dong had thought, with their fire and wood elements combined, their strength would be greatly increased, and they would be able to adapt to various situations. Ji Dong looked at the lazy chrysanthemum holy pig and said, "Chrysanthemum pig, can you tell me how you did it?" The chrysanthemum pig opened one of its small eyes and glanced at Ji Dong. It said, "What's wrong with that? Eat Xian first and then spit it out after we come in." Ji Dong was stunned and said, "Eat it first and then spit it out? What method is this?" Du Xian giggled and said, "The little pig is really capable. Its mouth is so big that it put me in as soon as it opened. When I could see outside again, I had already come in." Ji Dong looked at Yao Qianshu doubtfully, and Yao Qianshu nodded to him, indicating that what the chrysanthemum pig said was true. This was the holy evil battlefield, and Ji Dong did not have time to consider the strength of the chrysanthemum pig in front of him. At least he and Yao Qianshu had a contract, so it would not be disadvantageous to him. He said, "Qianshu, you guys stay on the ground, and there are no powerful magical beasts around. I will find the others in the air and try to get everyone together in the shortest time possible." "All right, don't worry, I will help protect Xian." Ji Dong nodded. He was very clear about Yao Qianshu's strength. Among the people who entered the holy evil battlefield this time, Yao Qianshu was definitely in the top 5. Only himself, his senior brother and a Jin had the power to defeat Yao Qianshu. After 5 years, although Yao Qianshu appeared like a beggar, Ji Dong could fully feel that Yao Qianshu's power was not weaker than his own. Once again rising into the air, Ji Dong began to search for his companions. He found that his huge spiritual force was slightly limited after entering the holy evil island, and the range it could cover was smaller than he had imagined. However, even so, it was enough. 2 hours later, he had found more than 40 people, including many disciples of the Yin-Yang Hall. Everyone gathered together and went deeper into the holy evil island. According to the previous agreement, after entering the holy evil island, they would still gather in the 3rd layer, because the deeper they went, the smaller the area of each layer would be. If they only gathered in the outermost layer, then the area they had to search would be too large. Everyone knew that the 3rd layer was their usual gathering place. What Ji Dong needed to do was to gather as many companions as possible before entering the 3rd layer, so that they could stay together as much as possible. This way, it would be easier to deal with any danger. Along the way, Ji Dong had a strange feeling in his heart. He didn't know why, but he felt that something was wrong. First, the number of magical beasts. Compared to the last time he entered the Saint Evil battlefield, the number of magical beasts seemed to have decreased. But that wasn't the most important thing. What was even more strange was that in the following day, he didn't see a single mutated magical beast or any transrealm magical beast. Even ordinary low-level magical beasts were rarely seen. This problem was not difficult for Ji Dong to understand. This was because the chrysanthemum pig was a 10th grade magical beast after all. As long as they sensed its aura, it was reasonable for low-level magical beasts to avoid it. What puzzled Ji Dong the most was that none of the magic masters he had met along the way had encountered any traces of enemies. This was a little strange. According to the situation of the previous Holy Evil battle, every time they entered the Holy Evil battlefield, a portion of the magicians would directly encounter the magicians of the opposing side. This was also the period of time when both sides suffered the most casualties. Ji Dong started searching for people as soon as he entered the Holy Evil battlefield because of this consideration. However, after a day had passed, there were already close to 100 magicians gathered around him. Under his questioning, not a single one of them said that they had encountered the magicians of the Five Elements continent. It felt as if the people of the Five Elements continent had not entered the Holy Evil battlefield to participate in the Holy Evil battle. Furthermore, there was another thing that Ji Dong was worried about. Logically speaking, after entering the Holy Evil battlefield, there should be two people that he could easily sense. One was Yun Tianji, who had the sacred evolution fire dragon, and the other was Ajin, who had been with him for a long time and carried many bottles of magical wine. Until now, he had not sensed any of their auras. This could only mean two things. One was that they were in danger, and the other was that they were outside the range of his spiritual detection. Although these two things could happen, Ji Dong still felt a strong sense of unease. Ajin was a little better. He had a deep understanding of Ajin's battle strength. In any situation, she would be able to protect herself. However, he could not help but worry about Yun Tianji. Even with the sacred evolution fire dragon, Yun Tianji did not have any battle strength. However, no matter what he thought, he had to continue searching. Right now, he could only hope that he would be able to meet them in the 3rd level of the Holy Evil Island. At noon on the 2nd day, Ji Dong led the magicians from the Five Elements continent to the appointed location. When he arrived, the Lightning Emperor Fury was already waiting with a group of magicians. According to the number of magicians that had entered the Holy Evil battlefield, 80% of the magicians had already gathered here. Not bad, little junior brother. You've helped me gather almost everyone. Fury was elated when he saw Ji Dong, and he immediately welcomed him. Ji Dong came in front of Fury and said in a low voice, "Senior brother, I feel that something is wrong." Fury glanced at him, and calmly asked the other magicians to rest. Then, he pulled Ji Dong to one side and called Yi Xian and Yao Qianshu over. The 4 of them gathered together. "Little junior brother, you also feel that something is wrong? I also noticed that after entering the Holy Evil battlefield, everything seems to be going too smoothly. Every time we want to gather here, it would take at least 3 to 5 days. Moreover, the number of magicians that can be gathered here is not as many as it is now. Under normal circumstances, after entering the Holy Evil battlefield, we would lose more than 20% of our people. However, as you can see, up to now, more than 80% of the magicians have gathered here. This means that the resistance we encountered is a lot smaller. I asked the brothers that arrived before us. They all said that they did not encounter any magicians from the Five Elements continent. Apart from some people who encountered some low-level magical beasts, most of the enemies didn't encounter any resistance. What about your side?" Ji Dong's face was solemn. "It's the same on my side." Could it be that the magicians from the Five Elements continent didn't participate in the Holy Evil battle? But that's impossible. Senior brother, did you see the heavens will? Fury was stunned for a moment. He's not with you? You should be the clearest when it comes to the sacred evolution fire dragon. Ji Dong's expression changed. It seems like something is wrong. My soul is connected to Maotai Wuliangye and the others. Logically speaking, I should be able to sense them even if they are 1,000 miles away. However, after entering the Holy Evil battlefield, I realized that the connection between me and them has become extremely weak. I can't determine their location at all. At first, I thought that it was because of the myriad lightning calamity, but I could use my spiritual power to find the others later on. This means that the myriad lightning calamity doesn't affect my spiritual detection much, and the sacred evolution fire dragon can't contact me under these circumstances. Something must have happened. Fury furrowed his brows as he pondered. Yao Qianshu said, Big Brother Fury, Ji-dong, I've never doubted the heavens will prophesy. The various phenomena indicate that we might really be in big trouble this time. Right now, the most frightening thing isn't the danger, but the fact that we don't know what the magicians from the 5 Elements continent are doing. We can't make any plans to deal with them. Chapter 299. Right now, the most important thing right now is to find heaven's secrets and find the traces of the enemies. Otherwise, we'll be too passive. Fury, how about we split up and search for heaven's secrets and the enemies at the same time? Fury said, but it's also very dangerous. Once we encounter a large number of enemies, it'll be very difficult for us to retreat. It'll be easier for the enemies to kill us one by one. Ji-dong said, Big Brother, why don't we do this? We'll leave the scouting to a few of us. The rest of you can stay here and defend. We'll scout for 3 days. After 3 days, whether or not we get any results, we'll gather back here. Qianshu, you don't need to go. You don't have a flying mount and you can't fly, so you'll stay here to defend. Me, senior brother, sister-in-law, and Miao, the 4 of us have the ability to protect ourselves. We'll split up and scout in 4 different directions. I think we'll get some results in 3 days. Fury thought about it and said, There's no better way than this. Ji-dong, how about we fix the scouting area for each of us? That way we can avoid repetition. Yi Xin, you're the weakest, so you can ride your demonic violet glacial jiao to scout the 4th and 5th floors. Ji-dong, your friend is not weak. She seems to have a god weapon that's not inferior to my Hell of Thunder axe. She'll scout the 6th and 7th floors. With the 2 of us working together, we'll be able to find something in 3 days. We won't be afraid even if we encounter a Class 10 magical beast. With your demon spirit domain, you'll be able to find the enemies and heaven's secrets better. Fury's arrangement was obviously the most reasonable. Ji-dong and the other 2 agreed to it. He called Miao Miao, who he had found on the road, over and told her about the 4 of them. Miao Miao thought about it and said, I also want to go deeper into the evil island with you. You have so many demon masters with mounts. It shouldn't be a problem for 2 of us to scout the 6th and 7th floors. If the 3 of us go together, we'll be able to go deeper. It won't be a problem for us to encounter a few Class 10 magical beasts. She had her own plan. According to the records of the Demon Alliance, the treasures of the evil island were all in the depth. The closer they were to the inner area, the more chances they had to find treasures. Of course, she didn't want to just scout the outer area. Fury furrowed his brows and was a little dissatisfied. In the past few battles between the holy and evil factions, he had absolute authority over the demon masters on his side. It was also under his overall leadership that they were able to defeat their opponents time and time again and reduce their losses to the minimum. This girl in front of him was the first person who dared to disobey him. However, she was invited by Ji-dong. She wasn't a member of the Heavenly Stem Legion. She was also very strong, so Fury didn't act up. Yao Qianshu said, Brother Fury, how about this? I'll scout the 6th and 7th floors. Although I don't have a flying mount, with the help of the soaring formation, I won't be much slower than you guys. 3 days should be enough for me to scout the 6th and 7th floors. Fury looked at Hyoheim with a questioning look. Miao Miao was brought here by Ji-dong. Of course, he had to ask for his junior brother's opinion. Ji-dong nodded to Fury. He wasn't indulging Miao Miao. Miao Miao was the leader of the Demon Alliance after all. Ji-dong didn't dare to say he was 100% sure about her character. Taking her with him was the most reliable way. With him and his senior brother around, she wouldn't be able to cause any trouble. It would be best for everyone to cooperate smoothly. If she had any bad intentions, they would be able to deal with it. After the plan was decided, the 5 of them set off at the same time. Yao Qianshu and Chrysanthemum Pig stayed behind to accompany Du Xe. Fury temporarily handed the command over to the top disciples of the Yin-Yang school. The 5 of them split into 3 directions and set off for the inner area of the evil island. Before they set off, none of them knew what this separation meant. For many people, it was a farewell for eternity. Yi Xian and Yao Qianshu went off to investigate. Ji Dong mounted the violet lightning radiant dragon, while Miao Miao rode her silver-winged Haidongqing. The 2 Class 9 magical beasts rose into the air at the same time, accelerating as fast as they could towards the depths of the island. No one had any intentions of hiding their strength now that they were on the evil island. Fury and Miao Miao both unleashed the presences of their god artifacts, the lightning axe and the staff of the goddess of the earth, to ensure that the weaker magical beasts would not dare to approach them. They approached the center of the island as quickly as possible. Ji Dong did not idle around either. He sat on the violet lightning radiant dragon and unleashed his full strength of spirit, searching for Ah Jin and Yun Tianji. With the speed of the 2 Class 9 magical beasts, it would only take them a day or 2 to pass through an empire. 6 hours later, they directly passed through the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th floors of the Holy Evil Island. They arrived at their first stop, the 9th floor. Ji Dong instead relaxed slightly. He knew that his previous guess was correct. The reason why he had not encountered any magical beasts before was probably because of the Chrysanthemum Pig. The number of magical beasts in the surroundings had clearly increased after entering the 9th floor, and most of them were powerful Class 8 magical beasts. According to his experience, the 9th floor of the Holy Evil Island was inhabited by rank 8 magical beasts that didn't live in group. On the 10th floor, there were rank 8 magical beasts that gathered in group. Let alone ordinary devil masters, even devil masters with 8 crowns would be in danger upon entering the 9th floor. At a time like this, the benefits of god artifacts became apparent. The presence of the Hellthunder god and the staff of the goddess of the earth, 2 god artifacts that were lightning attributed and earth attributed, made even Class 8 magical beasts afraid to approach them. The 3 of them directly began to search the 9th floor of the island. A sliver of greed flashed across Miao Miao's eyes from time to time as she looked at the Class 8 magical beasts on the 9th floor. Class 8 magical beasts would naturally produce Class 8 monster cores, which would be a great fortune. If it were not for the grim expressions of Ji Dong and Fury, she really would have wanted to hunt them all by herself on the 9th floor. However, when Miao Miao thought about the 2 droplets of 1,000-year life energy that Ji Dong had promised her, she endured it. Compared to the 1,000-year life energy, even a Class 10 magical beast's monster core was nothing. After searching through half of the 9th floor, Ji Dong indicated that they could enter the 10th floor. He still could not find anything with his spirit. They continued their search on the 10th floor. Just when Ji Dong's disappointment increased, he suddenly seemed to sense something. He hurriedly said, "Senior, stop." Fury immediately controlled the violet heavenly lightning dragon to float in the air. Miao Miao's silver-winged Haidongqing also flew in a beautiful arc in the air before stopping in front of them. A white light flashed in Ji Dong's eyes, and a dense spiritual force instantly spread out. Looking at the dancing white flames in his eyes, Hao Miao couldn't help but feel as if her heart had skipped a beat. It had only been half a year since they last saw each other, and this Jiafu's strength seemed to have improved again. She couldn't tell if he was really a human. Towards Ji Dong, apart from a bit of admiration, Hao Miao even felt a bit of fear. After all, the void cut of the fire god had left a deep impression on her, and she never wanted to face that kind of attack again. "It's the sacred evolution fire dragon!" Ji Dong shouted in surprise. Tianji and the others seemed to be in danger. They are rushing out from the inner layer. Let's go quickly. Senior, meow meow, fly according to my directions. As he spoke, Ji-dong released his spirit power to the fullest. Two almost visible silver rays of spirit power connected Fury and Meow Meow's spiritual world at the same time. There was no time to explain. He could feel that the sacred evolution fire dragon was a little anxious. Fury was a little better. After all, it was not the first time he felt this magical power from Ji-dong. Meow Meow was shocked. She never thought that Ji-dong's spirit power would be so strong. With the help of Ji-dong's spirit domain, the two of them had the ability to observe everything around them. At the same time, they clearly felt a strong magical wave coming from a direction. The violet heavenly lightning dragon and the silver-winged Hai Dongqing moved at the same time. They flew in the direction that Ji-dong's spirit power guided. After a while, they had passed through the 10th and 11th layers of the Holy Evil Island. The sacred evolution fire dragon's aura was getting stronger. Ji-dong could clearly feel that it was constantly roaring and exploding in the process of battle. It had encountered an enemy. Finally, the range of Ji-dong's spirit power was connected to the sacred evolution fire dragon. Through the spiritual connection, he could clearly see the situation that the sacred evolution fire dragon was facing. Yun Tianji crawled on the sacred evolution fire dragon's back, holding on tightly to its scales to stabilize himself. Around the sacred evolution fire dragon, more than 10 dark magicians from the Pentacontinent were attacking it. Each of them had a flying magical beast that was no lower than the 7th rank. There were even 2 9th-rank magical beasts and 3 8th-rank magical beasts. What surprised Ji-dong the most was that among these people, there were actually 4 of them who had a magical cultivation above rank 70, reaching the strength of 7 crowns. The dark magicians from the Pentacontinent were rare, but there were so many of them. Moreover, among these people, there was not a single one that Ji-dong had seen before. In other words, these people were just ordinary dark magicians. For ordinary dark magicians to reach this level of strength was undoubtedly shocking. During the last battle between the holy and evil saints, Ji-dong and Fury had not seen such a situation. There was no time to think. Ji-dong had already leapt up from the purple thunder heaven dragon's back. His wings unfurled, and the 2 soaring fire matrices activated at the same time. His entire body was like a sharp arrow, and under the guidance of his mental domain, he pounced in the direction of the sacred evolution fire dragon. His spirit power was still connected to Fury and Misty, guiding the 2 of them in pursuit. Fury and Misty were both shocked to find that in terms of short-distance acceleration, Ji-dong had already surpassed their magical beast. In the blink of an eye, he had already turned into a black dot and disappeared into the distance. The 2 of them did not dare tarry, and under the guidance of Ji-dong's spirit power, they sped up at the same time. Dark red light flowed through every part of Ji-dong's body. Clear and subtle clanging sounds could be heard. Under the effect of the fusion spell, the Godfire Holy King armor silently appeared, completely covering his body. After the 2 wings on his back were also covered by the armor, Ji-dong could clearly feel that his magical power had instantly increased. His already extremely fast flying speed had increased even more. Yun Tianji lay quietly on the sacred evolution fire dragon's back. He did his best to stick close to the sacred evolution fire dragon so that he would not affect any of this powerful magical beast's movement. Even as Tianji, he was cheering for the sacred evolution fire dragon at this moment. Under the pursuit of more than 10 powerful enemies, the sacred evolution fire dragon had already broken through the encirclement many times. Even though it had been attacked again and again by the enemies, it still charged forward proudly. It was also a Class 9 magical beast, but it was extremely difficult for the enemy magical beasts to entangle it. If it wasn't for the fact that as the battle dragged on, the sacred evolution fire dragon's magical power began to increase, and Yun Tianji truly believed that it could annihilate all the enemies here. However, the sacred evolution fire dragon was now in imminent danger. Even though it had already killed more than 10 of the enemy's low-level magical beasts to escape here, there were still so many enemies. No matter what price they had to pay, they had to keep the sacred evolution fire dragon and Yuntianji here. The encirclement was complete. One flying magical beast after another continuously released all kinds of long-range attacks towards the sacred evolution fire dragon and Yuntianji. The most terrifying were the earth element and earth element technique. The earth element's gravity enhancement and the earth element's swamp spell would greatly slow down the sacred evolution fire dragon's flying speed. This was also the reason why they were surrounded. If it weren't for the fact that the other two Class 9 magical beasts belonged to the earth element and earth element respectively, perhaps they would have already broken through the encirclement. To Yun Tianji, there was nothing he could be proud of now. He could only choose to trust the magical two-headed dragon beneath him. He couldn't help it in any way, but he believed that he wouldn't die just like that. The sacred evolution fire dragon was surrounded, but none of the dark magicians were in a hurry to take down this powerful magical beast of unknown species. They had already suffered greatly when it broke through the encirclement. The intense ultimate dual fire and its powerful body had already caused them great losses. Long-range attacks were the safest choice. Once the magical beast's mana was depleted, it would be useless no matter how powerful it was. At this moment, the sacred evolution fire dragon's 4 eyes suddenly lit up at the same time. A loud and clear dragon roar filled the sky with incomparable joy. The intense ultimate dual fire instantly exploded, forcibly dispersing the various attacks around it. Chapter 300. A faint smile appeared at the corner of Yun Tianji's mouth. Had he arrived? The sacred evolution fire dragon's sudden outburst shocked the surrounding dark magic masters. They all combined the mana of their magical beasts and released even more powerful demonic techniques in an attempt to suppress the sacred evolution fire dragon. However, what shocked them was that the powerful magical beast in front of them, who had been waiting for an opportunity, suddenly became extremely irritable, or perhaps excited. Facing the magical skill that was coming at it, its body suddenly became illusory. Almost with a flash of light, it had already broken through the layers of barriers and arrived in front of a 6-crown magical master with a 7th-grade magical beast. It was the exclusive skill of the sacred evolution fire dragon, transmigration. 2 huge beams of light shone from the sacred evolution fire dragon's black and white body. It was a pair of dragon-shaped flames that were extremely similar to his body, except that the 2 flames, one gold and one black, were not fused together. Instead, they were independent, and only after they rushed out of the sacred evolution fire dragon's body did they circle around each other in the air. Almost in an instant, they collided fiercely with the skills released by the dark demon master and his mount, who had turned pale with fright. As the light passed through, a terrifying rumble seemed to shake even the realm of myriad lightning calamity in the sky. Amidst the huge mana ripples, the sacred evolution fire dragon's body passed through, and the 6-crowned dark magic master and his mount turned to dust in the air. None of the dark magic masters understood why the sacred evolution fire dragon would suddenly erupt at this time. They could clearly feel that such a full-scale attack would undoubtedly consume more of the powerful magical beast's mana. What shocked them even more was that when they chased after it with their demonic techniques, the tyrannical dragon seemed to be able to predict the future. Its body instantly flickered as it twisted, changing directions 3 times in a row. It was extremely accurate and even ingenious in dodging all the attacks that were chasing after it. It had to be known that its body was 15 meters long, and dodging the demonic techniques that were like a net was easier said than done. It was also at this time that the dark magic master's pupils suddenly contracted, because they could clearly see a red dot of light rapidly flying over from the distance. It was like a meteor falling from the sky. Even in the blink of an eye, it was magnified several times. Not good. Go all out. The two earth element dark magicians shouted at the same time. They understood that this giant dragon and the magician on its back had come as reinforcements. The order they received was to never let this magical beast and the people on its back meet up with the magicians of the Radiance continent. Even if the dark magicians who were chasing after it were all annihilated, they wouldn't hesitate. The dark demon masters who had been holding back all released their mana, and the remaining 12 demon masters all released their killing moves. After fusing with their mounts, their killing moves were definitely top-notch existences, especially when the two 7-crown demon masters worked together with the Class 9 magical beast, which caused the world to change color. In an instant, an inescapable net had already formed behind the sacred evolution fire dragon, enveloping it from all directions. However, to their surprise, the sacred evolution fire dragon that had already rushed out of the encirclement did not continue to escape. Instead, it turned its body in midair. When its two dragon heads turned to face the dark demon masters, the dark demon masters could clearly see that the dragon's 2 heads and 4 eyes were exuding thick disdain and extreme pride. Regardless of whether it was the black dragon head Wulyangya or the white dragon head Maotai, at this moment, their huge dragon eyes were burning with intense white flames. A layer of white that was filled with a mystical aura also engulfed their entire bodies at this moment. Around this white light there was actually a layer of strange colorful light. 10 colors, it was actually 10 colors. Before the dark demon masters could clearly see the layer of strange light around the sacred evolution fire dragon's body, their killing moves had already landed, and the sacred evolution fire dragon had no intention of dodging or using demonic skills to resist. Sizzle, sizzle, strange sounds like cold water being poured on burning charcoal rang out in the air. No matter what type of demonic skills, they all melted like snow when they came into contact with the strange colors on the sacred evolution fire dragon's body, turning into the purest air flow that flowed along its body. Its body floated there silently, looking at the dark demon masters in front of it arrogantly and disdainfully, as if it was looking at ants. Shock practically spread through the eyes of all the dark demon masters and their mounts in that instant. They could not believe that the scene before them was actually real. That was an all-out bombardment of over a dozen high-grade sure-kill skills, and all of them were used on a single magical beast. Let alone the fact that this magical beast emitted an aura of a rank 9 magical beast, even if it was a rank 10 magical beast and a sovereign powerhouse, without using demonic skills to block, it would still be impossible for it to withstand such a terrifying attack. Was this really a magical beast? The multicolored light and the layer of white air flow on the sacred evolution fire dragon's body quietly retracted as all the killing moves melted away, as if they had once again burrowed into its body. At this moment, the red figure in the distance had already arrived at the speed of lightning, floating down and standing right where its 2 heads met. After the sacred evolution fire dragon evolved to rank 9, it gained another heavenly gift, which was the ability it had just displayed. In order to incubate the sacred evolution fire dragon, the flaming bar had used a total of 10 5-elements godstones, each of a cubic meter. During the incubation process, it was connected to Jidong's soul and bloodline, and received the guidance of chaos. Previously, the sacred evolution fire dragon's strange protective magical power was extremely similar to the 5 elements yin-yang world. It had borrowed the power of chaos to guide the 5 elements to protect its body. This heavenly gift was called immunity. Once activated, it would be immune to all magical attacks for 3 seconds. If transmigration was said to be a surprise attack, then immunity was the sacred evolution fire dragon's strongest defense. With chaos as its foundation and the 10 elements as its protection, even an ordinary super-killing move might not be able to shake its immunity within 3 seconds. If it were to evolve into a rank 10 magical beast in the future, then when the immunity was activated, the sacred evolution fire dragon would be almost invincible. Of course, the immunity skill had its limitations. The more powerful the talent, the longer the cooldown time. With the advancement of the transmigration talent, it could now be used once every 5 minutes. On the other hand, the immunity skill could only be used once a day. This was also why the sacred evolution fire dragon did not use it even though it had been surrounded. Never underestimate its ability to think. It definitely had intelligence that was not inferior to humans. It only activated its full power when it sensed Ji Dong's arrival. Perhaps with its current magical state, it would still be stopped by the combined forces of the dark magicians and magical beasts. However, if it attacked at all costs, at least 2/3 of the dark magicians and magical beasts here would fall in its rage. Floating down, Ji Dong, who was wearing the Godfire Holy King armor, was like a demon god that had suddenly appeared. Every spike on his armor emitted a cold light. Dark red magical patterns flowed on the armor, and an incomparably strong aura was released from his body. Maotai Wuliangye, take Tianji back and rest first. Leave this to me. Ji Dong's cold voice reverberated in the air. His voice was not loud, but it contained an extremely strong dominance. Almost as soon as he finished speaking, Ji Dong's body flew up like a red bolt of lightning, and charged directly at the group of dark magicians. The huge dragon eyes of Maotai and Wuliangye finally showed gentleness. With a light shake of their bodies, they had already retreated a few hundred meters. They floated in the air, absorbing the magical elements in the air to replenish themselves as they silently watched the red figure in the distance rush into the matrix. Yun Tianji had already sat up at this time, but he did not relax or feel relieved because of Ji Dong's appearance. Instead, his eyebrows were tightly furrowed, and his eyes were filled with deep worry, and even intense fear. But no matter what, he had to wait for Ji Dong to finish off the enemies in front of him first. Ji Dong's appearance immediately caused the eyes of the dark magicians to focus. These dark magicians did not recognize him, because it was the first time they had entered the Saint Evil battlefield. But Ji Dong's sinister Godfire Holy King armor and his domineering aura caused every dark magician to be filled with vigilance. These dark magicians were clearly well trained. The 6 crown magicians with Class 6 magical beasts quickly spread out to the side, and the 2 7-crown magicians with Class 9 magical beasts were immediately let out. On the 2 sides there were also 2 6-crown magicians with Class 8 magical beasts surrounding them, forming a pincer shape. Hyoheim's flying body swept over. The 7-crown earth magician clasped his hands in front of his chest, and a layer of dense yellow light had already erupted. It turned into a huge circle of light with a diameter of over 10 meters, enveloping Ji Dong's body. This was one of the skills he was most proficient in, called gravity pressure. Before, he had used this skill to suppress the sacred evolution fire dragon's speed many times, preventing it from speeding up and escaping. Relying on the locking of the aura, his gravity pressure had never failed. Even Class 9 magical beasts with the innate ability to fly would be greatly slowed by his skill. He believed that Ji Dong, who was flying with his armor, would definitely not be able to endure it if he was hit by his skill. At this moment, these dark magicians could clearly see the strange black and white yin-yang crown on top of Ji Dong's head. However, no matter how mystical the yin-yang crown was, and how powerful the aura on Ji Dong's body was, there were only 6 crown magicians shining on the yin-yang crown. 6 crown magicians with 3 stars and level 66 magical power. They did not believe that such an opponent could pose a threat to their entire team. What made them even more fearful was the sacred evolution fire dragon, which had already retreated and was beginning to recover its magical power. Even so, they had no intention of underestimating Ji Dong. When the 7th crown earth magician made his move, the 7th crown magician of the 6th crown magician also made his move. The 2 of them had been working together for many years. Both of them fused the magical power of their mounts with their own bodies, and then unleashed it through their own skills. In terms of magical skills, they had the power of an 8-crown magician. When the supercharged gravity halo flew out, an intense gray radiance swept out as well. It was not a halo but a thick layer of gray mist, which went straight for Ji Dong's body. This skill was called Abyssal Swamp, and was also the signature skill of the sixth Earth Magician. Together with the supercharged gravity halo, it was known as the strongest control skill. Moreover, these two skills complemented each other. Once they hit the same opponent at the same time, they would produce the effect of a combined magical skill. Moreover, they could be said to be area of effect skills. Once they locked onto the opponent, they would almost never miss. From these two skills, it could be seen why the Earth Magicians had such an important position on the continent. Unfortunately, they were facing Ji Dong, the tyrant of the generation. Such a skill might be able to slow down the speed of the sacred evolution fire dragon, but when they were facing Ji Dong, their wishful thinking went awry. The intense ultimate dual fire attribute erupted almost at the same time when the opponent launched his skill. Within a radius of 300 meters, all the magical elements of other attributes in the air were swept away by the third-fifth primordial yang sacred fire and the dark yin spiritual fire. The powerful suppression instantly fell on every dark magician and their magical beasts. The two great earth-type control skills were stagnated at the same time, and their power was greatly reduced in an instant. This kind of comprehensive suppression was achieved by the sacred evolution fire dragon. Even though it also had the ultimate dual fire attribute, it was a magical beast after all. It would never be able to completely unleash its own magical aura like Ji Dong could and form an instant suppression. Furthermore, this was only the first layer of suppression that Ji Dong brought to the dark magicians. As the ultimate dual fire attribute suppression bloomed, a layer of faint silver light spread out with Ji Dong's head as the center. Every dark magician felt their hearts sink, and everything around them seemed to become blurry. The original suppression seemed to have condensed in an instant, and was completely focused on each of them. They couldn't even unleash half of their full magical power at this moment, nor could they lock onto Ji Dong's body. What's going on? The same question appeared in every dark magician's mind, and their hearts trembled in shock. In the distance, when Yun Tianji saw the dark magicians and their mounts instantly freeze, he murmured, "Double suppression of attributes and spirit." That's right, this was the double suppression of ultimate attributes and spirit, and it was also an ability unique to Ji Dong. Although his powerful spirit couldn't directly kill his enemies, when combined with his own attribute aura and the special effects of spirit, it was enough to affect the entire battlefield. Not only could he support his companions, but he could also suppress his enemies in all aspects. Chapter 301. Ji Dong's body suddenly stopped in midair. The wings on his back spread out in the wind. Facing more than 10 strong enemies, he actually stopped there, as if he was the king of the world. In the next moment, like magic, an incomparably huge golden light emerged from his right hand, as if splitting the heavens and earth apart. That golden light brought along a series of light curtains in the air, and actually slashed down against the two skills of supergravity boost and deep swamp probe. The glaring golden flames were so dazzling. Even though the earth element was the bane of the fire element, it couldn't stop the powerful extreme yang fire at all. Ji Dong didn't give the two skills a chance to complete their combination skill. In the next moment, they were already smashed into pieces by that terrifying golden light. What Ji Dong attacked was the fiery sword of the fire god that had completely fused with his body. Panic spread among the dark magicians. These dark magicians were the absolute elites that the Five Elements mainland had nurtured for many years. In the past battles between the holy and evil, they had never appeared in order to hide their strength. This was also the reason why they didn't recognize Ji Dong. Facing such a huge pressure, the dark magicians attacked with all their might. All their skills swept towards Ji Dong, who was in the air. Ji Dong tilted his body slightly and instantly retracted the golden light in his hand. In the next moment, his body twisted at an angle that completely defied the normal joints of the human body. Immediately after, without any help, he turned into a golden light and instantly charged forward. Just as his body flickered, all the locking on to him missed. What a joke! In a situation where there was such a huge gap between the two parties' spiritual power, how could Ji Dong be locked on to by these ordinary magicians? At this moment, the purple thunder heavenly dragon and the silver sea dragon finally arrived. What they saw was the scene of Ji Dong slashing away the two restraining skills with one stroke of his sword. His body was as fast as lightning and his invincible aura. Even the extremely arrogant magicians like Fury and Meow Meow couldn't help but be shocked. Neither of them attacked. Feeling the powerful pressure in the air, they knew that they didn't need to attack anymore. The attacks on the sacred evolution fire dragon and Yun Tianji had already angered Ji Dong. When a tyrant was angry, how terrifying would his powerful attack power be? A six-crowned dark magician with a 7th-grade magical beast only saw a golden light flash in front of him. When he saw it clearly, Ji Dong had already appeared in front of him and his magical beast. Ji Dong's speed was too fast. It was as if he had teleported. The dark magician had just released a skill, and was still in the moment when he saw the spiked fist enlarging in front of him. At this moment, the dark magician could only cross the spear in an attempt to block Ji Dong's attack. The shining dark red magical patterns on his armor suddenly twisted. The dark magician didn't even see how his opponent had done it before Ji Dong's palm was already in front of him. The dark mage sucked in his chest and sucked in his stomach for the last time. However, Ji Dong's arm seemed to have grown a bit longer as he lightly slapped the dark mage's retracted elbow. At the same time, Ji Dong's foot was firmly planted on the magical beast's back. The golden red light shot into the sky like lightning, and the wings on his back flapped in a strange pattern. His entire body flashed 3 times in the sky, and he instantly changed his position in the most unlikely position. He had already cut towards another demon master who was slightly alone. It was also at this moment that the dark magician he had touched before didn't even have the chance to scream. With a loud bang, he exploded into a golden red fireball. The magical beast beneath him let out a mournful cry and directly fell. There was no doubt about the result of being directly hit by the deity's strike. Ji Dong's deity strike had already been cultivated to the 2nd realm. The strength of the magical power that erupted in an instant was terrifying. It was even more powerful than the sure kill technique he had used. As for that magical beast, its spine had been directly broken by his foot and it fell from the sky. How could it still have a chance to survive? In the eyes of everyone, including his own people, the current Ji Dong was like a king or a demon. The thick red color was like fresh blood flowing in the air. Even though there were so many opponents, none of them could stop him for even a moment. The powerful mental demon domain spread across the entire battlefield. It wasn't as simple as suppressing his opponent. This mental demon domain could also help Ji Dong grasp every detail of the battlefield. When the enemy's attack would arrive, which element would pose a threat to him, and where there was an opening to escape. All of this information gathered in Ji Dong's mind like rivers running into the sea. Under such circumstances, even if several 8-crown demon masters surrounded him, they wouldn't be able to withstand his attack without the cultivation of ultimate magical power, let alone the strongest 7-crown demon master here. Seeing the scene in front of him, the Thunder Emperor, Fury, who was conceited about his offensive strength, understood that without using the Thunder Divine Axe, his offensive strength wouldn't be able to match up to Ji Dong's. With his spiritual power controlling the entire battlefield, Ji Dong's Dragon Snake transformation, Yin-Yang Flame soaring formation, and Flying Serpent Flash, Ji Dong was like an untraceable red lightning bolt. His figure weaved through the battlefield, and in the blink of an eye, 2 more demon masters followed the footsteps of the first demon master. The 2 leading earth element demon masters were horrified. The earth demon master shouted, "Back to back, form a circular formation." The remaining 7 to 8 demon masters endured the pain of being suppressed and quickly urged their magical beasts to approach each other. All of their weapons were pointed outwards, and they tried their best to resist Ji Dong's dual-element suppression. With this, no matter which direction Ji Dong attacked from, he would have to face the combined resistance of at least 3 demon masters. Without a doubt, the Dark Demon Master's decision was the best. If they tried to escape at this moment, with Ji Dong's speed that far surpassed theirs, they would all die in a matter of minutes. Only by working together and resisting would they have a chance of survival. Humph! A cold snort came out from Ji Dong's nose. You think you can block my attack like this? Back to back, relying on each other? Circular formation? Fine, I'll give you a blossoming in the middle. Ji Dong didn't directly attack his opponent. Instead, he fiercely flapped his wings, propelling his body into the sky like a cannonball. Under the rapid flapping of his wings, he had already risen several hundred meters in the blink of an eye. Everyone's gazes followed his movements upwards. The golden radiance suddenly disappeared. In this cloudy sky, the extreme yang flames released by Ji Dong were extremely obvious. However, just as he turned into a golden dot in front of everyone's eyes, his figure suddenly disappeared. It was as if he had become one with the dark clouds in the sky. What's going on? The Dark Demon Masters didn't understand what Ji Dong was trying to do. However, they suddenly felt their bodies lighten. The dual suppression that had previously caused them incomparable pain had suddenly disappeared. Only Fury and the others, who had maintained a spiritual connection with Ji Dong, could sense what he was doing. Ji Dong was high up in the sky, and the reason why he felt like he had suddenly disappeared was because he had transformed the extreme yang fire he released into the extreme yin fire. The sky was originally dark and gloomy. When the piercing sun's golden light suddenly disappeared, it became black. At such a distance, it was very hard for a black dot to attract attention. Furthermore, these dark demon masters were dazzled by the golden flames on Ji Dong's body. They naturally felt like they had lost track of him in an instant. It was also at this moment that Ji Dong made his move. The Godfire Saint King armor that had already turned pitch black began to emit faint black flames. His entire body was above his head and his feet. His wings retracted as he descended from the sky like a free fall. When a person fell from the sky, they were already very fast. Furthermore, in the instant that Ji Dong turned around, the black flame sword had already appeared in his hand. Under the momentum of the super-heavy sword, his body fell like a meteor. What shocked Fury and Misty even more was that Ji Dong was still not satisfied with this speed. Through the mental connection, they found that Ji Dong's body flashed 5 times. If it wasn't for the mental connection, even their vision wouldn't be able to catch Ji Dong's figure falling from the sky. Falling from the sky with a super-heavy sword and using the flying serpent flash 5 times in a straight line, this created an indescribably terrifying speed. In the previous moment, Ji Dong was still hundreds of meters above the ground. In the next moment, he didn't even give any Dark Demon Masters a chance to react. His entire body and the black flame sword had already burrowed into the center of the circle of Dark Demon Masters. That's right, the Dark Demon Masters had already done their best defense. Every magical beast's wings were almost touching. As long as they could maintain flight, all directions were within their defense. However, they had only missed 2 directions, above and below. When Ji Dong had flown into the sky, they had already been on guard against Ji Dong in the sky. However, who would have thought that he would suddenly appear at a speed that was close to teleportation? It was as if you clearly knew what he was going to do, but couldn't stop him. This kind of painful feeling was the most obvious in the hearts of the Dark Demon Masters. The defense was tight with their backs against each other, but because they were too close, it was extremely difficult for the magical beasts beneath them to even turn around. When they suddenly felt the 2 layers of pressure that had just disappeared appear again, everyone paused for a moment. Ji Dong had already completed his attack. The moment he landed in the middle of the group of dark demon masters, the golden blazing sword shot out from his right hand. The two super heavy swords added together were already more than 18 meters long, not to mention that there was still the piercing sword light on them. Ji Dong's figure flashed down from the sky, and in that instant, he spread the wings on his back and stopped in the middle of the dark magicians, as if defying gravity. In the next moment, the Vulcan's dual swords were already brandished, and his entire body rose up again in a rapid rotation. The Flame Monarch had a skill, Flaming Whirlwind. The Dark Flame Devil had a skill, Devil Flame Whirlwind. And what Ji Dong was using now was actually the fusion of two great skills, and it had merged into the Fire God's dual swords. The incomparably powerful ultimate dual flames, after being fully enhanced by the Fire God's dual swords, exploded with unparalleled terrifying power. The opponent's mental and magical power were both suppressed, and the opponent's strength was not enough to resist him. Moreover, who had ever seen such a strange attack method? Black and gold, the two colored flames flickered alternately in the air, forming a strange scene. The black and gold flames spiraled upwards, leaving behind a brilliant light wherever they passed. Screams and wails sounded almost at the same time. When Ji Dong's proud figure once again rose higher into the air, all the dark demon masters who had been on full defense earlier had already scattered in all directions. Their strength was completely unable to block the ultimate dual flames attached to the Fire God's dual sword. At this moment, Fury, Haomiao, and Yun Tianji could only see bodies that were turning into ashes in the distance. Although they all knew that it would not be difficult for Ji Dong to destroy these enemies with his strength, who would have thought that the battle would end so quickly? More than 10 powerful dark demon masters were all destroyed just like that. Apart from the two 9th-level magical beasts that were still alive after taking a few blows from Ji Dong and frantically falling down, flapping their wings in an attempt to escape, the rest of the low-level magical beasts had already fallen under Ji Dong's dual swords and flame swords. The Fire God's dual sword seemed to melt, quietly returning from Ji Dong's palms into his body. The pair of red eyes on the mask of the Godfire Saint King armor slowly retracted the proud and ruthless aura. Two powerful dragon roars rang out from the mouths of Mao Tai and Wu Yangye at the same time. They were already filled with rage after fighting and running earlier, so how could they let their enemies escape now? Their magical power had recovered quite a bit, and they directly chased after the two 9th-level magical beasts. At the same time, their backs suddenly bounced, and Yun Tianji flew into the air, heading straight for Ji Dong. The Godfire Saint King armor followed closely behind the two swords and entered his body. Ji Dong caught Yun Tianji, and his body took a step forward in midair. The wings on his back flapped, and he was already on the back of Fury's purple thunder heaven dragon. Fury and Miao Miao looked at the calm and harmless-looking Ji Dong and were somewhat speechless. He looked so young, as if there was no difference between him and an ordinary youth, but the scene of the dual Fire God's dual swords attacking from the sky, and the terrifying attack that killed the enemy with the force of a thunderbolt, had already been deeply imprinted in their minds. Other than Ji Dong, who had once been abused by the Flying Serpent and trained in the Flying Serpent transformation, who could instantly stop in midair while falling at such a high speed and terrifying weight. Chapter 302. Ji Dong didn't seem to notice the shock in Fury and Miao Miao's eyes. He put Yun Tiankong on the dragon's back and asked in a deep voice, "Tianji, what's going on? Why did you, Mao Tai, Wu Yangye, and the others come out of the Holy Evil Island?" Yun Tianji's eyes revealed a very serious expression. "The situation is very bad. Here's what happened. As soon as I entered the Holy Evil battlefield with the Sacred Evolution Fire Dragon, I had a bad feeling. My prophecy spell, which had been in a hazy state, suddenly became clear. Under the guidance of the prophecy spell, I immediately rode the Sacred Evolution Fire Dragon to the depths of the Holy Evil Island without meeting up with you. It's not that I didn't know how to be careful, it's just that the danger I felt was too strong. It was as if the whole world was going to be destroyed. Hearing Yun Tiankong's uneven breathing and even slightly panicked voice, Fury and Misty Meow temporarily put aside their shock and looked at him. Yun Tianji continued, "The sacred evolution fire dragon's breath was very strong. We didn't encounter any trouble along the way. Magical beasts below the 10th rank would stay away from its breath. With the help of the soaring dual flames formation and the sacred evolution fire dragon's speed, we quickly entered the depths of the holy evil island." Hearing Yun Tianji's words, Ji Dong suddenly realized that Yun Tianji and the sacred evolution fire dragon had been teleported to the opposite direction of him, which meant that they were on the other side of the holy evil island. In this way, he naturally couldn't feel their breath at the beginning. Then Yun Tianji directly rode the sacred evolution fire dragon to the depths of the holy evil island. In this strange place, the closer he was to the center of the holy evil island, the more his spiritual force was affected. The connection between his soul and the sacred evolution fire dragon seemed to be affected by Yun Tianji's prophecy spell. When he first saw Yun Tianji, Ji Dong had already noticed this. Yun Tianji had temporarily stopped his prophecy spell, which allowed Ji Dong to communicate with the sacred evolution fire dragon smoothly. Yun Tianji said gravely, "Master, you once told me about the situation of the holy evil island in detail. When we entered the 12th floor, we began to be cautious. Although the sacred evolution fire dragon was powerful, it was still a Class 9 magical beast after all. It would be very difficult to deal with Class 9 magical beasts that lived in group. As a result, we advanced carefully. Finally, we arrived at the 13th floor, where Class 10 magical beasts lived. At that time, I hesitated whether to enter the 13th floor or not. After all, I couldn't provide any help to the sacred evolution fire dragon in terms of strength. If we entered rashly and encountered a powerful Class 10 magical beast, it would not be easy for us to escape. However, my premonition suddenly became extremely strong. In order to understand what this premonition was about, the sacred evolution fire dragon and I decided to sneak in. In order to not be discovered, we first flew into the sky and enveloped the sacred evolution fire dragon with mist. We advanced carefully. With the prophecy spell, I could see very far away. When we truly entered the 13th floor, I immediately felt an extremely powerful pressure. Even the world of myriad lightning calamity in the sky seemed to be lower than the outside. However, what made me extremely surprised was that we actually did not see a single Class 10 magical beast on the 13th floor. This was clearly abnormal. Even if there were fewer Class 10 magical beasts than other magical beasts, it was impossible for there to not be a single one. It was also at this moment that I saw a streak of black light shoot into the sky. The appearance of the black light caused the sense of danger in my heart to rise to the peak. I hurriedly approached it with the sacred evolution fire dragon. From afar, I saw the people from the Darkness continent. There were hundreds of devil masters, and they were all on the 13th level of the holy evil island. What? Ji Dong and Fury couldn't help but be shocked by Yun Tianji's words. They had never thought that the enemies they had been searching for so long would actually be on the 13th floor of the holy evil island, a place with Class 10 magical beasts. Fury and Ji Dong glanced at each other in disbelief. How is that possible? Aren't they afraid of being annihilated? Yun Tianji smiled bitterly. No, they're not the ones who were annihilated, it should be the Class 10 magical beasts. When I saw the enemies, I also saw the corpses of at least a dozen Class 10 magical beasts. I don't know what kind of attack they suffered, but they were all killed. Not a single one of them was left alive. According to the records of the past generations, the total number of Class 10 magical beasts on the holy evil island would never exceed 100. And with a dozen Class 10 magical beasts dead, it's easy to imagine that the other Class 10 magical beasts on the holy evil island were scared away and didn't dare to approach. The Dark Continent's magicians were scattered all over the 13th floor, carefully investigating every corner. In the innermost part of the 13th floor, there was a black altar. The altar wasn't big, it was divided into 3 levels. The lowest level was only 5 meters in diameter, and the upper 2 were 4 and 3 meters in diameter respectively. There were 10 people sitting on the lowest level of the altar, facing outwards. Each of them wore a heavy magic armor and held a magic weapon in their hands. On the highest level of the altar, there was a black-clothed young man holding a black scepter. At the top of the scepter was a huge black skull. The dense black light was emitted from this scepter. This black light can only be seen through the prophecy spell. According to what Master taught me, this should be some kind of magic power similar to a contract or a barrier. That black-clothed young man was constantly chanting something in a low voice, causing the strange black energy to become stronger and stronger. I'm certain that the 10 people sitting on the first level of the altar are the dark stem saints. I know the aura of the saints too well. What I don't understand the most is that every single one of them is holding a magical weapon. This time, Ji-dong's expression changed. He and Fury had fought the Dark Stem Saints before, and there was no doubt that they were quite powerful. They had caused a lot of trouble in the previous battle between the Holy and Evil Saint. If every single one of the Dark Stem Saints had a magical weapon, they would be a destructive existence. No matter how effective Ji-dong's mental demon domain was, no matter how strong Fury and Meow Meow were, they had to face the yin-yang world of the 5 elements, which was made up of the power of 10 experts. It was not something that any of them could resist. The Dark Stem Saints, the 10 exclusive magical weapons? Ji-dong subconsciously clenched his fist. Fury's expression changed at the same time, and their gazes became gloomy. They could clearly feel that the prophecy of the old heavenly secrets was getting closer and closer to them. Yun Tianji said resolutely, "We have to stop them." Yun Tianji said resolutely, "We have to stop them. Although I can't predict what they're doing, there's no doubt that the black-robed youth is a heavenly secret like me. He's the dark heavenly secret of the 5 elements continent. When I looked at him, he sensed my presence at the same time. That's why I and the sacred evolution fire dragon were discovered. The 10 dark heavenly stem saints didn't make a move. They seem to be part of that strange ceremony and can't leave the altar easily. That's why they sent those ordinary devil masters to kill me. We have to destroy it before they finish the ceremony. Otherwise, I'm afraid that the true danger will come." Meow Meow could not help but say, "There are hundreds of enemy magicians there. There are also 10 people who possess ultimate magic power and divine artifact. How are we supposed to disrupt their ritual? We need to go back and bring the others here as well." Yun Tianji shook his head and said, "No, it's too late. I have a very strong feeling that the ceremony will be completed soon. Once the ceremony is successfully activated, there will be no turning back. We only have a slim chance of survival now. There's only the few of us, and we can't rely on anyone else. The only thing we can pray for is that the Dark Stem Saints are in the middle of the ceremony and can't make a move. If that's the case, we still have a chance." At that moment, 2 miserable cries rang out in the distance. Clearly, the sacred evolution fire dragon had succeeded. However, the cries made the hearts of the 3 of them sink. A resolute look appeared in Ji-dong's eyes. He looked at Meow Meow and said, "If you don't want to participate in this operation, you can leave now and go to a safer place outside. However, I hope you understand that the Dark 5 Elements continent is targeting our entire continent. When the nest is overturned, no egg can remain intact. No matter what they are doing now, we must stop them. Since they could gather all the demon masters to the 13th layer of the Holy Evil Island without anyone knowing, we can see that they are determined to win this time. Without a doubt, they have been preparing for this operation for a long time." Meow Meow's eyes were filled with hesitation. Although she had promised Ji-dong to participate in this battle, she had no intention of risking her life. She could be said to represent everything of the Demon Alliance. Moreover, she had the divine weapon, the staff of the goddess of earth. If something happened to her on the holy evil island, it would be an irreparable blow to the entire demon alliance. Fury said in a deep voice, "Junior brother, we can't delay any longer. You're right, if I'm not mistaken, the Dark Five Elements continent has long planned this operation. I've never seen those Dark Devil Masters before. With their strength, they should have appeared in the holy evil battlefield long ago. Without a doubt, these are the hidden forces of the Dark Five Elements continent. This time, they even brought the 10 divine weapons. It must have been premeditated. Since they launched the attack in the 13th layer of the holy evil island, according to my estimation, it's highly possible that they're targeting the 5 divine beasts in the inner 5th layer." Tianji just said that he could feel that it's a ceremony similar to a contract or a barrier. If they have a way to control the 5 divine beasts, even if it's just one of them, it will definitely be a destructive blow to us. At that time, the holy evil sky will tilt. They've long planned this operation, and our continent will be in danger. We can't wait any longer. Miss Meow Meow, we don't blame you if you don't want to go, but please bring Tianji out and meet up with our main force. Try your best to bring the strongest people here." The hesitation in Meow Meow's eyes finally disappeared. She suddenly shook her head and waved her right hand in the air. The staff of the goddess of earth was already in her hand. She looked at Ji Dong and said, "I won't go. I'll go with you. I'll prove to you that even the Demon Alliance is willing to do its part for the survival of the continent. Let's go." The Demon Alliance? Fury couldn't help but be slightly stunned when he heard this name. But what Meow Meow said next made his eyes shine brightly. Without any hesitation, the violet thunder-brilliant dragon and the silver-winged azure dragon accelerated at the same time and flew deeper into the holy evil island. The sacred evolution fire dragon returned from the front, still chewing the crystal cores of the 2 Class 9 magical beasts it had just killed. Ji Dong flew up and returned to the sacred evolution fire dragon with Yun Tianji. The 3 magical beasts carried the hope of the light 5 elements continent and accelerated at full speed. On the 3rd floor of the holy evil island, the chrysanthemum pig laid in Du Exion's arms. It was as comfortable as it could be. It felt more and more that Du Exion was much stronger than Yao Qianshu. Du Exion's love for it did not ask for anything in return. It was pure love. Although the little girl was a bit infatuated with it, she had a pure nature. The pure fragrance on her body made it even more satisfied. It was a pity that she was not a wood element demon. Du Exioner was chatting with Lan Bao. Perhaps it was because beauties were attracted to each other, but the two had already known each other before entering the holy evil island. "Sister Bauer, when do you think Brother Ji Dong and the others will come back? This holy evil island is boring. We're about to die of boredom waiting here." Lan Bauer smiled faintly. "Perhaps they'll come back very soon. The situation this time is indeed strange. We haven't encountered any enemies yet. Don't worry, Ji Dong and Brother Fury are both extremely powerful. No matter what the enemy's plot is, they'll definitely be able to deal with it." After returning to the holy evil battlefield, Lan Bauer had not spoken a single word to Ji Dong. It was not because she hated Ji Dong, but because she was trying her best to forget him. She was afraid that if she spoke to him, all her efforts would be in vain. Chapter 303. However, the more she thought like this in her heart, the more she couldn't help but observe Ji Dong from afar. When she saw him, the bitterness and pain in her heart would become even more intense. She discovered that her feelings for him did not seem to fade with the passage of time and his rejection. Instead, it seemed to have become more and more intense. She did not understand why it was like this, but her gaze would always be attracted to him. Du Ming also sat beside the 2 girls. When he first saw Lan Bauer, he unconsciously fell in love with this pure and elegant girl with silver hair and purple eyes. Between her brows there seemed to be a faint sense of worry, which made people feel pity for her. What made him even more surprised was that this girl called Lon Bauer was clearly younger than him, but in the Heavenly STEM Academy Enyang Hall, she was ranked in the top 20. Lon Bauer was able to rank so high, although it was because of the casualties among the students of the Enyang Hall, and because of the fact that students like Ji Yishang, who had been adopted as the crown prince, her position had risen by itself. Being able to rank in the top 20 was also because of her own hard work. Every time she felt a sense of longing in her heart, she would do her best to force herself to vent this longing in her cultivation. After so many years, her cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds, and even the talented Ling Yu could not compare to her. Faintly, Lon Bauer had already become the second person in the Gui Water School after Yi Xin. That's right. Teacher's strength is so strong, we don't need to worry at all. I heard from Father that the last time he faced the people of the Demon Alliance, he defeated the entire Demon Alliance by himself. Hearing her brother mention the Demon Alliance, Du Exiner could not help but snort in dissatisfaction, and said, I think, he must have captured the heart of the Demon Alliance's alliance leader. Brother, that gray-haired woman who suddenly appeared before entering the sacred evil battlefield is the leader of the Demon Alliance who kidnapped us last time. She also came to meet some appointment this time. I think her relationship with Big Brother Jidong is not ordinary. Du Ming was stunned and said, Exiner, don't speak nonsense, you can't have recognized the wrong person, right? Recognized the wrong person? We almost died in her hands. How could we recognize the wrong person? Humph, when Big Brother Jidong comes back, I must ask him clearly. Just as they were talking, Du Exiner suddenly felt the body of the chrysanthemum pig in her arms stiffen. Before she could react, the chrysanthemum pig had already flipped over from her arms and jumped onto the ground. In an instant, the aura of the little fat pig suddenly changed. Du Exiner, Lon Bauer, and Du Ming, who were beside it, could clearly feel a mountain-like aura erupting from the little pig's body. Although it only appeared for a moment, the three of them still widened their eyes in shock. The chrysanthemum pig gazed at the depths of the holy evil island, its small eyes sparkling. The chrysanthemum pattern on its back lit up, and a faint emerald light slowly rose with a layer of strange white mist. Not good. Someone is trying to launch the world of myriad thunder calamity. Bastard, are they crazy? The chrysanthemum pig's voice was no longer as playful as it used to be. Instead, it became extremely serious and even angry. Every word it uttered made the hearts of the people around it beat faster. Its round body began to become transparent, like the most expensive emerald jade. It emitted a strong luster, and a thick aura of life erupted from its body. It was as if it was almost tangible. No, I have to rush over immediately, not only for the world of myriad thunder calamity, but also for the god's contract, bastard. As it spoke, the chrysanthemum pig's body instantly expanded under the stunned gaze of the crowd, like a big balloon that was blown up. The crowd who were looking down at it almost immediately turned to look up at it. Its fat body, in the blink of an eye, had expanded to a terrifying length of 100 meters, nearly 50 meters tall. Its terrifying figure instantly attracted the attention of all the magicians of the Five Elements continent, but they could not do anything, because the powerful aura that burst out from the chrysanthemum pig made them feel the terrifying pressure that they experienced when they entered the holy evil passage. They could not gather any of their magic power at all. Ah! Little pig, what's going on with you? Du Exiner asked in surprise. The chrysanthemum pig turned its head, and its eyes became extremely serious. Previously, it was as obedient as a pet, but now, when Du Exiner looked at its eyes again, she found that the chrysanthemum pig's eyes, which were still very small in proportion, were flashing with an extremely serious and angry light. Exiner, I'll take you away. I'm afraid Jidong and the others are in big trouble. As it spoke, a green light fell from the chrysanthemum pig's back, rolling up Du Exiner's body and directly pulling her onto its back. Chrysanthemum pig, take me with you too. Du Ming hurriedly shouted. The chrysanthemum pig's eyes moved, and the light on its back flashed again. This time, Du Exiner saw clearly that the green light was the chrysanthemum flower petals on the chrysanthemum pig's back. Two directly flew down, not only rolling up Du Ming, but also Lon Bauer at the same time, pulling her onto its back. The chrysanthemum pig's dignified gaze swept across the surrounding 5 elements continent demon masters, and said in a deep voice, "Whether it's a blessing or a curse, it depends on your luck. Either stop them, or we die, or you die." After dropping this sentence that no one could understand, its huge body took a step forward and directly rose into the air. What the demon masters present could not see was that the moment the chrysanthemum pig rose into the air, all the magical beasts within the 5th layer of the holy evil island ran away at an almost crazy speed. "Little piggy, where are we going? What in the world happened? How did you become so big? This is too amazing!" Du Exiner asked with a face full of joy. She was so simple that she did not realize the existence of any danger. She only felt that sitting on the wide back of the chrysanthemum pig was extremely exciting. Chrysanthemum pig said, "There's no time to explain. Let's find Yao Qianshu first, then we'll go to the center of the holy evil island. Something big is going to happen. It seems that heavens can see through some of it. Sit tight." As it spoke, the chrysanthemum pig's body flashed with green light, and a terrifying demonic power bloomed, propelling its huge body to the depths of the holy evil island at a speed that surpassed that of the sacred evolution fire dragon. On the 13th floor of the holy evil island. There was only a single floor between the 12th floor and the 13th floor, but when Ji Dong's group of 4 entered the 13th floor, he immediately felt an extremely different feeling. It was a pressure that came from his soul. Even if he did not encounter any Class 10 magical beasts, his mental domain would only be able to display half of its original effect after coming here. The elemental energies in the air were at least twice as dense as outside the 13th floor. Just as Yun Tianji had said, on the 13th floor of the holy evil island, the dark clouds in the sky became even thicker, as if they were within reach. It seemed that the pressure coming from the soul came from the dark clouds in the sky. Just how much demonic power did the world of myriad lightning calamity contain to cover this island that was almost the size of a country, as well as to hide its various secrets? From afar, Ji Dong could almost see the existence of the 5 Saint Mountain in the deepest 5th floor of the holy evil island. There was a suffocating pressure constantly being released from there. The faintly discernible 5 Saint Mountain pierced straight into the world of myriad lightning calamity, like 5 pillars supporting the thick clouds. The sacred evolution fire dragon, the violet lightning brilliant dragon, and the silver-winged azure sea dragon all folded their wings and lowered their flight altitude. One was to avoid attracting the lightning, and the other was to conceal themselves as much as possible. Ji Dong tried to expand his spirit demon area as much as possible, but he found that his spirit demon area was strongly interfered with. He could only explore the outer part of the 13th floor. Once he entered a certain area, he would encounter a special energy that would distort his spirit demon area and prevent him from seeing what was happening inside. Miao Miao asked, "What should we do?" Ji Dong said in a low voice, "We can only kill our way in. All the dark devil masters of the 5 elements continent are gathered here, and there's also the existence of Dark Tianji. It's impossible for us to sneak in and destroy it. They won't leave any flaws. Like Tianji said, we can only pray that the dark heavenly stem saints won't attack us. In this case, with the divine weapons of you and senior brother, as well as the strength of the 3 of us, it's possible to kill our way in and destroy their ceremony. By the way, Tianji, have you seen Jin?" Yun Tianji shook his head and said, "I didn't see it." The voice of the flaming bar rang in the depths of Ji Dong's soul. However, he heard an unprecedented seriousness in the flaming bar's voice. "Ji Dong, Jin is also rushing towards you." When she entered the evil island, she encountered a single Class 10 holy beast, which caused a lot of trouble. She couldn't meet up with you. You must remember, no matter what, you must stop those people. They are trying to use the 10 heavenly stems to launch the world of infinite thunders to hell, and they have even shielded the 5 Saint Mountain from the fluctuations of the magic. Therefore, the holy beasts on the 5 Saint Mountain can't sense the changes in the outside world. If you can't stop them, not only you, but all the creatures on the evil island will face the full power of the world of infinite thunders to hell. Those people may even push the world of infinite thunders to hell to attack the radiant 5 elements continent. At that time, all living beings will be plunged into misery and suffering. Your heavenly secrets prediction is correct. Until you entered the 13th floor, I could clearly feel the changes in the magic here. As long as you can stop them, their shielding towards the 5 Saint Mountain will be useless. As long as the holy beasts on the 5 Saint Mountain find something wrong, all their efforts will be in vain, and they will have to bear the wrath of the holy beasts. At this time, I have to tell you that Yao Qianshu's chrysanthemum pig is one of the 5 holy beasts on the evil island. It's a wood holy beast. It's also on its way here, but you can't count on its help too much, because although it's a holy beast, its ability is mainly for support. Flaming Bar paused for a moment. Her voice was filled with worry. Jidong, you know what? If the holy evil island could be teleported, I would definitely teleport you back to the core world. I really regret letting you participate in this battle. Go, use all the power you've accumulated. No matter what, I won't let anything happen to you. Hearing Flaming Bar's words, Jidong's heart violently contracted. The target of the 5 elements continent was actually the boundless lightning calamity. They didn't want to defeat them, they wanted to trigger the entire boundless lightning calamity to destroy the entire holy evil island. They even wanted to directly attack the 5 elements continent. Junior brother, are you alright? Did something happen to Miss Ah Jean? Seeing Jidong's expression suddenly become extremely ugly, Fury asked doubtfully. Senior brother, I know what the people of the 5 elements continent are going to do. Jidong repeated what Flaming Bar had just said to him in the simplest way. Hearing this, whether it was Fury, Miao Miao or Yun Tianji, all of their expressions changed at the same time. Yun Tianji cried out involuntarily, "That's right. That's right. This should be the existential crisis that the continent is facing. Let me ask you, if we have the ability to destroy the entire holy evil island and take back the barrier that separates the 2 continents, what would our Radiance continent do?" The eyes of the Thunder Emperor, who had always been calm, were filled with terror at this moment. He said, "If that's the case, we will definitely mobilize all the forces that can be mobilized. After the barrier of the holy evil island is destroyed, we will immediately launch a holy war against the opposite continent. We will completely destroy the opposite continent and unify the 2 continents. If we don't do this, we will also be attacked by the opposite continent. My God, the 5 elements continent has such a plan. How on earth did they think of a way to mobilize the innumerable lightning's calamity realm?" Yun Tianji said, "I can roughly guess the situation. At that time, the holy evil island was jointly created by the first generation of light and heavenly stems saints and the first generation of dark stems saints. At that time, the 20 heavenly stems saints not only created the island, but also created the innumerable lightning's calamity realm. They even used their power that was infinitely close to the god level to summon the 5 holy beasts from the god realm to guard the holy evil island and make it the center of the holy evil island. This is the secret of the establishment of the holy evil island. At that time, the 20 heavenly stems saints all died because of this. Among the 20 people, the saint kings of both sides had already broken through the saint level. The 20 heavenly stems saints also had their own exclusive divine weapons. Before they died, they merged their crystal crowns with the divine weapons to make the divine weapons even more powerful. Chapter 304. A huge thunderball descended from the sky like a lightning pearl spat out by the myriad lightning calamity realm. It landed directly on the Hell Thunder Divine Axe. In an instant, the entire Hell Thunder Divine Axe turned into a bolt of lightning. Under Fury's guidance, it circled in the air and formed a strange line. Immediately after, a terrifying scene appeared. The circular space in the area that the Hell Thunder Divine Axe passed through suddenly collapsed and disappeared silently, turning into pure black. It was the Hell Thunder Divine Axe's space collapse. Compared to 5 years ago, the Divine Thunder Axe seemed to be completely under Fury's control now. When the spatial collapse appeared, not only did Fury's demonic power not weaken, it even absorbed the lightning demonic power in the air at a crazy rate. Seeing this, Ji Dong suddenly understood. If he had to choose the most suitable place for his senior brother to cultivate, the Holy Evil Island would undoubtedly be the most suitable, because it was the innumerable lightning calamity realm, the most powerful world of lightning. Here, both Fury and his divine thunder axe would receive the most powerful nourishment. Boom, the 10 elemental boundaries, as well as the wood shield, fire shield, earth wall, gold shield, and ice wall, the 5 combined defenses were all shattered the moment the spatial collapse happened. This was what it meant to be powerful. In the next moment, the 30-meter-long divine thunder axe had already descended from the sky as Fury made a chopping motion with both hands. "Let's go." Fury didn't even look at the 10 dark demon masters. He had already urged the purple thunder heavenly dragon to charge forward. Ji Dong and the sacred evolution fire dragon followed immediately, while Miao Miao and her silver-winged Hai Dongqing were a step slower. She sighed in her heart. Heavens! Are these two really humans? This Thunder Emperor is not inferior to Ji Dong in the slightest. How many times can I block such an attack? Boom! It was as if the earth had been heavily punched by a god from the heavens. When the purple light flashed, all that was left on the ground was a huge, charred ravine. The figures of the 10 dark demon masters and the magical beasts had all disappeared. Not even their crystal cores or crystal crowns were left behind. They had all been turned into ashes by the terrifying power of the divine lightning. The concealment of the dark 5 elements' mainland strength had completely infuriated Fury, the Thunder Emperor. You've been concealing your strength for many years. So, even if you bring out your full strength this time, I'll destroy you all the same. The power that the Hell Thunder Divine Axe displayed at that moment was clearly close to the edge of a primary ultimate skill. What was more terrifying was that it didn't consume much of Fury's strength. The myriad lightning calamity realm was like a warehouse that provided him with supplies, reducing his consumption to the minimum. Under the circumstances of the myriad lightning calamity realm, Fury, who had cultivated the extreme Yang Thunder to level 79, and the Hell Thunder Divine Axe, his strength was already comparable to that of a 9-crown supreme martial artist at around level 90. Even if he encountered supreme martial artists like Shui Mingyue and Lung Fengyun, he still had the strength to fight them, and even had a 40% chance of winning. Ji Dong was sure that under the premise that he didn't use the Fire God Void Slash, he was still no match for this senior brother, even if he used the Sun-Moon Yin-Yang realm. Inside the 13th floor, the 3 round black altars stood there quietly. As long as they moved forward for another 100 meters, they would be able to enter the core of the evil island. From the altar, they could clearly see the real core area of the evil island 100 meters away. The ground was covered with colorful soil, and there was even a faint colorful light rising from the soil. They could also clearly see the 5 mountains that belonged to the 5 directions. At the top of the altar, Dark Tianji kept chanting strange words. Even the most powerful 70 or 80 Dark Demon Masters of the Dark Demon Legion guarding here could not understand what he was chanting. The skull at the tip of the dark scepter that was held high in the air continuously emitted a faint, distorted light that shot straight into the sky. Not far away, all the Dark Demon Masters present could hear the violent thunder, but they were indifferent. They still tightly guarded the altar. When the second thunder sounded, Li Yonghao, who was sitting on the first floor of the dark altar, slowly opened his eyes. His movements did not change. The dark demon sword in his hand was the same as the other 9 divine weapons, emitting a strong light of its own attribute. The mana of the 10 divine weapons all rose into the air and gathered at the dark scepter, causing the multicolored light on Dark Tianji's robe to become incomparably dazzling. At this moment, Dark Tianji would not care about what happened in the outside world. The scepter in his hand began to sway slightly, controlling the strange power of the contract as if he was carving something in the air. Great 5 Elements Barrier! Li Yonghao shouted indifferently. After saying that, he closed his eyes again and concentrated on pouring his mana into the demon's sword in his hand. Fury, you're here so soon? However, even if you came a little earlier, you wouldn't be able to stop our operation. Darkness will control the entire world. How can I, who has lost to you 3 times, be willing to give up? When darkness descends, I won't give you any more chances. I will wash away the humiliation I have suffered with my own hands. Hearing Li Yonghao's command, the 10 dark demon masters closest to the altar raised their hands at the same time. 10 rays of light shot into the sky and exploded at the same time, emitting a dazzling light. This was not a demonic technique, but firework. 10 fireworks that bloomed at the same time. Ji Dong, Fury, Miao Miao, and Yun Tianji saw the brilliance of the fireworks immediately. They saw it, and the large number of dark demon masters on the 13th floor naturally saw it too. In Ji Dong's mental demon domain, he could accurately determine the location of the altar through the position of the firework. However, he immediately discovered that the last group of enemies in front of him was actually retreating rapidly. The last group of enemies in front of them was actually retreating quickly. The Fry Thunder Hell God's axe had already unleashed its power during the second thunderclap, instantly killing another group of enemies. They were getting closer and closer to the altar. At this moment, Ji Dong suddenly felt his mental demon domain shake violently. His body swayed, and in his shock, the white light in his eyes instantly dissipated. Apart from the part that was connected to Miao Miao and Fury, the rest of the spiritual power that he had spread out was forced back into his body. At the same time, the Sacred Evolution Fire Dragon, the Purple Thunder Heavenly Dragon, and the Silver-Winged Vermilion Sea Green felt their bodies sink at the same time. Without any warning, they fell to the ground, as if some special power had suddenly taken away their ability to fly. The 3 magical beasts reacted at the same time. Fortunately, they were not flying too high. At the same time, they spat out demonic light from their mouths and bombarded the ground, doing their best to prevent themselves from falling. With 3 loud booms, the 3 magical beasts crashed into the ground. The Sacred Evolution Fire Dragon fared the best due to its nimble body. It managed to neutralize the impact by bouncing its body. It smashed through a bunch of trees and fell to the ground. The Purple Thunder Heavenly Dragon and the Silver-Winged Vermilion Sea Green were in a slightly worse state. They were dizzy from the fall. Although they were not injured, they shook their heads dizzily. "What's going on?" Miao Miao exclaimed. She and Fury had already risen to the west the moment the magical beasts hit the ground. It was also at this moment that the 4 of them saw 10 intense rays of 10 colors rise into the sky from different directions. With a loud boom, the intense rays of 10 colors completely covered the myriad lightning calamity realm, forming a huge light screen. A terrifying pressure descended from the sky. Ji Dong's mental demon domain suppressed their attributes to the extreme. The flying abilities of the 3 magical beasts could not be used at all. Moreover, they could clearly feel that all the magical elements in the air were no longer under their control. They could no longer absorb elements to replenish their bodies. "This is the yin-yang boundary of the 5 elements?" Fury asked doubtfully. Ji Dong said in a low voice, "No, it's not the yin-yang boundary of the 5 elements. Unless the 10 dark heavenly stem saints have all reached the 9 crowns level, they can't release such a huge yin-yang boundary of the 5 elements. Moreover, the strength of this boundary is different from the yin-yang boundary of the 5 elements. The yin-yang boundary of the five elements exerts the extreme attributes of the five elements perfectly and perfectly. This 10-colored boundary should be an amplification of the previous 5 elements boundary of the 10 elements of the dark magicians. It's only thick and heavy, but not the true extreme power. It completely relies on the superposition of magical power to exert the full power of the 5 elements boundary of the 5 elements. It completely restricts the air, forcing us to fight them on the ground. Our speed will be affected if we can't fly. A sharp light flashed through Fury's eyes. No matter what, we have to stop them. Let's go. At this moment, Hai Dongqing and the Violet Thunder Brilliant Dragon had already recovered. The three of them mounted their mounts again and charged forward on the ground. However, the 5 elements boundary in the sky seemed to have grown eyes. All the pressure was concentrated on them, and even the Class 9 magical beasts were affected. However, no matter how powerful the restriction was, they had no path of retreat. All they could do was advance, advance, and advance. Although the final weapon, Li Yonghao, had only given a simple command to the Dark Demon Masters, it was just right. He had grasped the crucial point, and at the most suitable time, Ji Dong's group slowed down. It was actually not difficult for Ji Dong's group to break through the 5 elements boundary. As long as they could find any group of Dark Demon Masters that had formed the 5 elements boundary and kill them, they would be able to destroy it. However, they could not do that right now because they were injured. They did not have time. Their target was the altar where the Dark Saints and Dark Divination were. How could they find the 10 groups of Dark Demon Masters that had completed the 5 elements boundary? By paying the price of 100 Dark Demon Masters temporarily being unable to attack, they had forcefully suppressed Ji Dong's group of 4. Furthermore, they had accurately located their location through the 5 elements boundary. The remaining Dark Demon Masters would gather from all directions and surround Ji Dong's group. Like this, regardless of whether they could kill Ji Dong's group or not, they would definitely be able to buy time. For the sake of this 1,000-year plan, the 5 elements continent had prepared for far too long. Every possibility was within their calculations, and they were getting closer and closer to the completion of the dark ceremony. After the 3 magical beasts, led by the sacred evolution fire dragon, were unable to fly, their strength was affected to a certain extent. The one affected the most was naturally the silver-winged Hai Dongqing. The sacred evolution fire dragon and the violet thunder brilliant dragon were both dragons. Whether it was in the sky or on the ground, they had powerful battle prowess. However, the silver-winged Hai Dongqing's strength was greatly reduced after being unable to fly. However, when it landed on the ground, Miao's strength increased accordingly. As an Earth-type Dark Demon Master, what better way to unleash her strength than standing on the ground? The figures of the Dark Demon Masters had already appeared in the sight of Ji Dong's group. Miao stood on the head of the silver-winged Hai Dongqing. A sparkling gray light suddenly lit up in her hand. As soon as the gray light appeared, it immediately spread from both sides of her palm. In the blink of an eye, it had already extended to 2 meters long. Its entire body seemed to be made of gray crystal. At the head of the staff was a sculpture of a female human. It was about a foot long and the sculpture was vivid and lifelike. Gray light flowed and circles of gray halos were constantly emitted from it. It was the Earth-type divine weapon, the Staff of Goddess of Earth. I'll restrict them. You guys attack. As the leader of the demonic alliance, Miao naturally knew what she had to do in this situation. Viscous gray flowed down from the Staff of Goddess of Earth like mercury. It was completely different to use the Staff of Goddess of Earth in the air and on the ground. The end of the 2-meter-long Staff of Goddess of Earth was directly inserted into the ground by Miao. The viscous gray spread along the end of the staff in a fan shape. Throughout the entire process, there was not a single trace of energy wave. Even the great 5 elements boundary could not suppress the power of the divine weapon. Turning ground into swamp was an additional skill of the staff of Goddess of Earth as a divine weapon. Although Miao's mana could not be compared to Ji-Dong's and Fury's ultimate mana, in terms of control of the divine weapons skills, she was definitely not inferior to Fury. After all, her body had already become one with the divine weapon. She would definitely be able to unleash the power of the skills that she could use as much as possible. Kill! Ji-Dong bellowed and dashed out like an arrow. In midair, a dazzling golden light suddenly erupted from his body. The intense golden light could clearly be seen gathering on his right hand. Shortly after, the golden light instantly spread and turned into a huge longsword that was more than 10 meters long. As soon as the mana was activated, Ji-Dong discovered that apart from the previous restrictions, the Great Five Elements boundary had also restricted the attacks of all external skills. In other words, external skills such as Dragon Scale Flash and Dark Moon Flame were all ineffective. When released, they could only be held in contact with the body and could not be used for long-range attack. Chapter 305. Since the realm of infinite thunderbolts was created by the 20 heavenly stems of light and darkness, then it must be closely related to the 20 divine weapons. Although the 10 divine weapons are not enough to mobilize the entire realm of infinite thunderbolts, it is possible to trigger it completely. The only thing I don't understand is how the Darkness Continent got the 10 divine weapons. Although the legend says that the 20 divine weapons are scattered on the Holy Evil Island, that is not the case. According to the information passed down by generations of Tianji, it is more likely that the 20 divine weapons are scattered all over the continent, and it is very likely that they are damaged. For example, the Thunder Divine Axe in Fury's hand was refined by the Thunder Purgatory of the realm of infinite thunderbolts over 1,000 years, but it does not belong to the 20 divine weapons. Ji-Dong said decisively, "There is no time to think about how they did it. Let's take action. Only by destroying the ritual in the most direct way can we save as much time as possible. We can't let them trigger the realm of infinite thunderbolt." Fear almost spread in the hearts of the four people at the same time. They could not imagine what kind of catastrophe it would be if the realm of infinite thunderbolts was triggered. Not to mention other things, just those who were on the Holy Evil Island would not be able to survive, not to mention the impact on the two continents if the barrier of the Holy Evil Island was destroyed. One side was ready to fight, the other side was ignorant. Once the Holy War started, it would really be a matter of life and death. In this case, there was no doubt that Ji-Dong and the other people's fighting spirit had been raised to the limit. Even Miao Miao did not hesitate anymore. Just as Ji-Dong said, when the nest is overturned, there will be no eggs left intact. The demonic alliance was also the demonic alliance of the Light Continent. Fury and Miao Miao felt a buzzing sound in their heads at the same time. Their perception of the outside world suddenly changed again. Ji-Dong's power of the will instantly connected with them. Their thoughts also extended along with Ji-Dong's power of the will. Soon, they found the surging figures in the range of Ji-Dong's power of the will. Under the guidance of Ji-Dong's power of the will, they clearly felt that among these figures, none of them was lower than 3 crowns. They all moved in groups of 10 at the same time. Among these 10 people, at least one was a 7 crowns magician, and he had all 10 elements. Every group's position overlapped slightly, so there would not be any blind spots during the search. The ones that were killed by Ji-Dong before should belong to a special group that all had magical beasts as mounts. They were specially used to fight in the air. They did not have 10 elements of magic. Now, there were at least 20 groups of magicians on the 13th floor. Their magic had always been united, forming a situation where all 10 elements of the Light Continent were suppressed. Feeling this, the one who was the most affected was Fury. His face was taut. At this time, he understood that in the past few battles between the holy and evil, he was able to lead the magicians of the Light Continent to victory. The biggest reason was that the other side had held back. This kind of feeling was undoubtedly very painful for him. When you suddenly found out that all your achievements were deliberately given to you by someone when you had achieved success and fame, it was absolutely difficult to accept that kind of feeling. These dark magicians under the age of 50 were the real young elites of the entire Dark Continent. There was no place like the Heavenly Academy in the Dark Continent, but they had the Dark Secret Dojo, which was much stricter and crueler than the Heavenly Academy. Not only did they train young elite magicians, but they were also the real death warriors. The cruel selection had caused countless talented young people to directly die in the Dark Secret Dojo. However, it was also because of the fierce competition caused by such a harsh system that the overall strength of the young magicians trained by the Dark Secret Dojo was far above that of the Heavenly Academy. The 300 dark magicians all had the strength of 5 champions, and they cooperated well with each other. They had all 10 elements of suppression, and were led by the dark heavenly disciple, who had 10 divine weapons. Such a strength was almost comparable to 10 supreme experts. Under the effect of Ji-dong's mental demon domain, Fury and Miao Miao both saw a red arrow pointing straight to the depths of the 13th floor. If they had enough time, with their strength, they could very likely destroy these dark magicians one by one. However, what they had to do now was a race against time. They could not afford to waste time on these ordinary magicians. The path that Ji-dong's mental power guided was the one with the least contact with the enemies. If they were fast enough, they would not give the other dark magicians time to react. Then, they would only have to encounter 3 groups of enemies. The 3 looked at each other with determination in their eyes. Fury said in a low voice, "Leave these 3 groups to me. Miao Miao, please protect Ji-dong. Junior brother, you will be the first wave of attack and attack the altar. Then, we will do our best to support you." Okay. After sensing the strength of the enemy magicians, Fury still made the decision to attack the 3 groups of dark magicians. This proved that he had absolute confidence. Under the guidance of the mental power, they had already approached the first group of dark magicians. Fury's eyes suddenly lit up, especially the vertical eye between his eyebrows, which opened quietly. An extremely powerful and manic aura suddenly erupted from his body. Fury roared, and the purple thunder heavenly dragon was connected to his mind. In an instant it accelerated and rushed forward. Miao Miao and Ji-dong followed closely behind Fury. Miao Miao was shocked. This man, who was like a god of thunder, instantly emitted a magical wave that was much stronger than Ji-dong's. A 7-crown sun crown suddenly appeared above his head. 7 crowns, 4.5 stars, represented that he was at level 79 and was about to enter the level of 8 crowns. More importantly, in the horrifying yang lightning element, at this moment, it actually surpassed the suppression effect of Ji-dong's dual element. With a wave of his right hand in the air, Fury's third eye, which was stained with purple light, swept out. A strange-looking battle axe had already appeared in his hand. It was the Yang Lightning Divine Artifact, Hell Thunder Divine Axe. He did not turn this divine artifact into his own defensive armor. The dazzling purple light instantly swept over his body and the purple thunder heavenly dragon's body. 1 man and 1 dragon, at this moment, all of their magical power burst out. The Yang Lightning formation appeared behind Fury. In just a short time of 2 breaths, he had already raised his own magical power to the peak. This kind of speed, which was also a 7-crown magician, Miao Miao, could not achieve, let alone the magical power released by Fury. He also had a divine artifact. The gap between Miao Miao and Fury was revealed at this moment. Miao Miao relied on her own fusion with the divine artifact, nourishing the divine artifact with her life force to use the power of the staff of the goddess of earth. On the other hand, Fury seemed to have complete control over the divine artifact. Through the divine artifact's stimulation and evolution, the ultimate Yang Lightning magical power was more compatible with the Hell Thunder divine act. At this moment, they were less than 200 meters away from the first group of dark magicians. The purple thunder heavenly dragon roared at the sky, spread its wings, and instantly accelerated. It was like a terrifying huge thunderbolt breaking through the sky. At this moment, the other party had already discovered their existence. The 10 dark magicians suddenly felt a violent magical wave, and immediately formed a circular formation. Many years of cruel training had given them extremely rich combat experience and tacit cooperation. The magical power of the 10 elements was released at the same time. At the first moment, they fully released the suppression of the 10 elements and the 5 elements. The 5 men and 5 women released their own magical power at the same time, forming a layer of colorful light in the air. Although this was not the yin and yang boundary of the 5 elements, it also relied on the mutual promotion of the 10 elements to link their respective magical power together. No matter which angle the opponent attacked from, they would have to face all of them. Wood shield, fire shield, earth wall, gold shield, ice wall. 5 different defensive skills were released at the same time. The most powerful thing was that these 5 defensive skills were released by 2 magicians of the same yin and yang attribute. Together with the support of the 10 elements boundary of the 5 elements, the power of these 5 great defensive skills instantly increased. 10 attributes, 5 elemental boundary. This was a problem that the Heavenly STEM Academy had never been able to overcome. In theory, only when 10 demon masters had the same amount of mana could they use such a boundary. However, how could it be possible for the demon masters to have the same amount of mana? The Dark 5 Elemental Continent or the Dark Divination Dojo had obviously overcome this problem. The 10 demon masters in front of them clearly had different amounts of mana, but they were still able to release such a powerful 5 elemental boundary and even used it in battle. From this point, it could be seen that their research on the 10 elemental boundary was even more profound than Meow Meow's Demon Alliance. 5 types of defense, 10 magicians, in an instant, were like a piece of iron plate that had all 10 attributes. Internally, it was a mutual amplification, and externally, it was a mutual suppression. This was an almost perfect combination, and the full power of these 10 magicians was unleashed. Furthermore, their fighting style was completely targeted at Fury, Ji-dong, and the other 2. As long as they could hold them off for a moment, then the surrounding groups of dark magicians would definitely rush over and join forces to kill Ji-dong's group. Everything that happened in front of him appeared in Fury's mind through the probing of his spiritual power, allowing him to clearly grasp every change in the opponent's magical power, and even the magical power of each opponent's magician, including the surrounding terrain and environmental factors. Everything was in Ji-dong's spiritual power detection, and it even showed the weakest point of the opponent's boundary of the 5 elements. At the same time, Ji-dong's ultimate dual fire attribute, demonic spirit domain, and extreme yang lightning attribute also gave the opponent an all-round suppression. The boundary of the 5 elements of the 10 elements was indeed powerful. In the face of the suppression of 3 ultimate attributes and Ji-dong's demonic spirit domain, it was only because the boundary of the 5 elements was unable to counterattack, and its own strength was reduced by 30%. This was also under the situation where Fury had a divine weapon. From this, it could be seen how powerful the combination of the 10 attributes was. This boundary, which was completely in line with the laws of heaven and earth, protected these magicians to the greatest extent. Facing such a defense, Fury and his purple thunder heavenly dragon crashed into it just like that. It must be known that in this group of opponents, there were also 3 magicians with mount. Perhaps their overall strength was not as strong as those that Ji-dong had destroyed previously, but with the help of the boundary of the 5 elements, their defense was definitely stronger than those dark magicians who had their own ways of doing things. Intense lightning attribute mana blossomed in the air. The purple thunder heavenly dragon spread its wings, and the lightning symbol on its chest left its body, turning into a huge pure lightning bolt that shot into the sky. At the same time, the Hell's Thunder Divine Axe in Fury's hand expanded in the wind, completely absorbing the lightning. The surrounding air became distorted at this moment. What was even more strange was that it seemed to have cut off the connection with the outside world, and the mana released by the boundary of the 5 elements of the 10 dark magicians was cut off at the same time. The Hell's Thunder Divine Axe swayed in the wind, and with a flash of light, it flew into the air and turned into a huge battle axe that was 30 meters long in the blink of an eye. In the air, the realm of myriad lightning calamity suddenly fluctuated violently. One could clearly see that the thick clouds had formed a huge vortex in the sky right above the Hell's Thunder Divine Axe. The air within the range of the Hell's Thunder Divine Axe's light had completely turned purple. One must not forget that the Hell's Thunder Divine Axe was born from the realm of myriad lightning calamity, and they had the exact same attribute. The 13th floor of the Holy Evil Island was extremely close to the realm of myriad lightning calamity. There was no doubt that this lightning attribute god artifact was greatly enhanced. Even the staff of the goddess of earth, which was of a higher quality, could not compare to it in this place. The eyes of the 10 dark magicians were filled with shock at the same time. Although their boundary of the 5 elements was powerful, it was only formed by their individual mana. After all, there was a limit to a person's power. How could they go against heaven and earth? Fury looked solemn. He and the purple thunder dazzling dragon were right below the Hell's Thunder Divine Axe. He raised his hands, and the huge Hell's Thunder Divine Axe was instantly erected in the air. One could clearly see lightning flashing on the huge axe's blade, and it shone like water ripples. In the sky there was a loud rumble, and the surrounding purple light seemed to shake violently in an instant. At this moment, Jidong immediately withdrew his mental demon domain and ultimate dual fire attribute suppression. The might of the lightning was too terrifying. The burst of the righteous chi seemed to be able to destroy everything in the world. At this moment, within the huge vortex of the realm of myriad lightning calamity, a bluish-purple light flashed, and a purple ball of light descended from the sky.